We have had the iPhone 5 in the house for less than 2 hours, and over the objections of many in this building, we're starting our torture test. It's going in the freezer for 2 hours. Alrighty, good luck. Bye, little buddy. This feels even more wrong than usual. There have been several CNET rescue attempts, but we managed to keep the iPhone 5 in here for the full 2 hours. Let's see how it's doing. All right. The bigger screen shows that, oh, look how pretty the crystal pattern is. This is my favorite part. All right, let's see. It's nice and iced over. Oh, screen comes on no problem. Ugh. Perfectly responsive. Look at that. Little A6 processor, not phased at all by the cold. And look, actually, unlike the iPhone 4S, the cold did not drain the battery at all. It went in almost full, and it's still almost full. Our iPhone 5 came through the cold test with no problem. Let's see how it handles the heat test. A little change in the heat test. We've decided, in the interest of all of that plastic very close to heat sources, we're going to try wrapping these in a towel so that we get a lot of heat, but maybe not so much melting. All right, so we'll wrap it up. You may remember we did this with our iPad back in season 1. Okay, let's put our little, look, it looks like kind of like bread dough. 200 degrees, 1 hour. Sounds like our iPhone is cooked. Let's make that stop. Okay, all right, and see how it's doing. Okay, extremely hot to the touch. Might as well try to turn it on. Oh, yep. We have our temperature warning. iPhone needs to cool down before you can use it. So that's such good feedback. So we will indeed let it cool down, and then we'll try to use it. We let our iPhone 5 cool for about 15 minutes. It's a little warm to the touch, but otherwise seems fine. Let's see if our temperature warning is gone. Oh yeah, performance seems unaffected. Still is crazy fast. All right, everything seems to be working just fine. Heat test, not a problem. Let's see what happens if, say, we're sitting outside and we accidentally shuffle puck it across the concrete. It happens. Now let's see how bad it got. Wow. I think even some of the glass is chipped, right? Oh, yeah. Ooh, I could actually get a little cut right here. You're gonna need a case. iPhone 5 is already a little dinged up, but it is time for the drop test. Again, so light, so easy to just sort of lose track of while I'm at the playground. Oh no, a bee! Onto the concrete. We have some chipping on the front. We've actually cracked the glass on the back. It could have been already in a weakened condition, but that was only one drop. But I think we need to keep dropping it. How about shoulder height? Okay, looks like no more problems. One more, ear height. If you only looked at it from the front, you would say this phone is amazing. It's this view that's the problem. Now let's see if the actual phone is still functional. Comes on. Looks like we don't have any screen damage like we did with the 4S. So the phone is still functional, but I think with a cracked back, we're gonna have to call this one a fail. Still functional after the drop despite the cracks. Let's see how the iPhone 5 handles water. Oh no, I dropped it in the toilet. Ah, this is the part where I overcome my fear of germs. The screen's still on, by the way. Very similar to our iPhone 4S. Bubbling. Probably get it out a little faster than that if you really dropped yours in the toilet, but this is one thing that's pretty amazing about the iPhone, actually. Both the 4S and the 5 now, really not very affected by water. The screen stays on. There's no evidence of immediate shorting, and that's with some pretty severe damage on the back that could let some water in. Just to be on the safe side, I'm going to power it all the way down, put it in our rice bag, all the way off. Of course, I cannot take the back off or the battery out to make sure we really get drying on the insides, but it's not really acting like it has water on the inside. Check on you later. Let's see how our iPhone 5 did with the water test. We've had it in a bag of rice for about 36 hours, just to be safe. Now, you remember it was on when it came out of the fish tank, but sometimes the water sinks in a little later. We did a little charging, but I don't know how it's doing. Oh, it's on. Screen seems perfectly responsive. It's doing its thing. That is pretty impressive. Just like the iPhone 4S, this one has no problem with a short dip in a pool, which is good news for a lot of you. Now, I do also want to revisit the drop test. At the end, when I was a little bit shocked by all the damage that we had caused by dropping this phone, I declared it a failure. But on second thought, I think I have to take that back. I mean, it's totally functional. If you put a case on the back, you'd still be perfectly happy to have it. So, on second thought, it's a pass. Overall, I'd say the iPhone 5 is very tough, but also not that tough. Compared to the Samsung Galaxy S3, which went through all the same tests, this obviously came out pretty damaged, and our S3 had no scratches at all. That said, any phone that can take a dunk and still come out working fine is one that you're gonna feel confident with. I would just say, get yourself a case. If you don't want to get a case, this might not be the phone for you. And I do want to issue a little bit of a warning because this is my personal phone, which I've now had for 5 days. And the front glass is covered in scratches just from carrying it in my purse. If you are the kind of person who really prefers to have a phone without a case, I recommend thinking twice about iPhone 5. Although I am going to take this one back to the store and see what they say.
What's happening? Brian Tong here, and welcome to the Apple Bite for all the good and bad inside the world of Apple. Let's get to the show, and it's official. Apple's next product launch event will happen on Tuesday, October the 23rd, with the invitation teasing us with the tagline, "We've got a little more to show you." You know, I swear, only Apple could get away with saying that.
Yeah. Tonight I wanna show you off. What you got?
Hey Brian, here's your stories.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, thanks, Amy. This is awesome.
Sure.
All right, this is cool.
Do you need anything else?
I've got a little more to show you.
What?
I was actually going to show her my new thumb drive. Now, the event is being held at the California Theater in San Jose, and no surprise, one of those little things is expected to be the iPad mini, the mini pad, mini me, or the maxi pad, whatever you guys want to call it. Now, E-Trade Supply posted photos of what's believed to be the 7.85-inch display for the iPad mini, which still looks to retain its 4:3 aspect ratio like the full-size iPad. Now, earlier rumors also suggest the resolution will be 1024 by 768, which is the same as the iPad 2, but there's no confirmation of that yet. And if you guys like batteries, I know you do, this is an image from Mac Rumors that shows off the purported iPad mini battery that's about 3 times the size as the iPhone 5's. It's 1/3 the size of the current iPad's battery, but that could also indicate this will not have a Retina display since it typically requires more power. Now, the Mini isn't the only iPad we're expecting to see. 9 to 5 Mac received a list of iPad SKUs that shows Apple could be set to launch 24 models of the new device. Now, 24 SKUs just for the iPad Mini seems a little aggressive. This could point to the scoop we told you about 2 months ago from our own sources that Apple would be releasing a revamped full-size iPad with a Lightning connector before the end of the year. Now, the current iPad has 12 configurations. That's 2 colors, 3 capacities and 2 versions with Wi-Fi as one and Wi-Fi plus cellular as the other. The iPad mini would most likely follow this same formula, so we could see 12 new iPad SKUs and 12 new iPad mini SKUs, but we'll wait to find out on the 23rd. iPads aren't the only hardware we expect to see as well. Unofficial reports have come out that the anticipated MacBook Pro 13-inch with Retina display will debut at the Apple event that will be based off of the 15-inch Retina design with no specs revealed at this point. And I know many of you have been holding out for this model. New Mac Minis are also expected to be announced and available immediately after the event in 2 configurations and an OS X server version as well. But what about the new iMacs? It's been over 530 days since the last refresh, and it makes sense to release them for the holidays. Now, a new rumor from website wayphone.com that includes an image of the internals of the purported new iMac says the design will be thinner, sporting a new curved teardrop-shaped outer shell, and will be announced alongside of the new iPad. There's still no real intel if they'll include a Retina display, and this is one of the few Apple products these days that still remains pretty much under wraps. 9to5Mac also has a list of what appears to be 4 new iMac SKUs for the 21-inch and 27-inch models, and says they'll either be available the day after the event or a few weeks later, but we'll see how that all shakes out. And Mac Pro fans, I'm sorry, you'll still have to wait until 2013. So that's a wrap-up of what we expect to see at this next event, and we'll get the word straight from the Apple's mouth on Tuesday. Now, in some other stories, are you one of the people still waiting in line for an iPhone 5 at an Apple store? Trust me, it's happening. People with first-world problems have been complaining about the product shortage, and part of the reason is because of the complicated assembly process. Just like CNET's own Josh Savage in this Saturday Night Live skit.
Everyone knows that Apple Maps has been a total disaster. And since there's no Google Maps app yet, I've been forced to use Google Maps in my browser, which is significantly slower.
Oh no, talk about Apple Map. It no work, right? It take you to wrong place. You want Starbucks, it take you to Dunkin' Donut. That must be so hard for you.
It's a tough life we live, guys. Now, an unnamed Foxconn official told the Wall Street Journal that the iPhone 5 is the most difficult device Foxconn has ever assembled. To make it light and thin, the design is very complicated. Now, earlier in October, there were up to 4,000 employees who stopped production to protest over the unrealistic quality control expectations from Foxconn and Apple. Now, the Foxconn official says practice makes perfect, and their productivity has been improving day by day. But I can assure you, Chinese people work fast, like really fast. But they can't all do cool ironing tricks. All right, guys, and before we go, since Apple's announcing iPads, let's do an iPad accessory giveaway of our own, thanks to my good friends at Kensington. It's the multi-angle folio and keyboard that's a combo Bluetooth keyboard and case for the new iPad worth $99. So guess what? It could be any of you, the Apple biters, that wins this. All you have to do is send me an email to theapplebite@cnet.com or tweet me at Brian Tong and tell me what I should ask Jamie to get her attention, and we'll try them out for you on camera. And the winners get the cases. All right, and Kensington is also going to hook you up with the promo code CNET20 for a discount off of everything on their website, 20% off until November the 9th. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's show. Email us about anything and everything. I'm Brian Tong. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time for another Bite of the Apple.
The Chevy Malibu. It's a lot like T-Mobile. In the Big Four, but bringing up the rear in sales. Let's see if an all-new version for 2013 can move it up the rankings as we drive the Malibu LTZ and check the tech. Now, for 2013, the Malibu's on a whole new platform. In other words, the entire underpinnings are new. GM did that for 2 reasons. One, they want to sell one Malibu in every market worldwide. Also, they want a better platform to compete against Fusion, Accord, and Camry that are ahead of this car in the sales race in that order. They've also tried to take some Camaro DNA. The gauges are like out of a Camaro. The taillights kind of suggest a Camaro, but this is not a performance car, certainly not in this trim. It's an everyday car. Let's see how it does on that front. Now inside, poor old GM just can't stop doing fancy. I mean, what is this upholstery? When the question is, do you want caramel brown, dark brown, black, or blue stitching, the answer should never be yes. But that's what happened here. And that's more chrome than on an entire Audi. This cabin looks like it's the perfect car for a junior executive in the pimp industry. They got to tone it down. On a brighter note, Chevy Malibu is shaping up to be a real bright spot in the Chevrolet product line. Okay, this is not the most ambitious head unit in any car today. It's no Audi killer. But what it does comes off pretty well. Like the rest of the cabin, it's a little bit garish. The icons are a bit much, and there's screen after screen of them. They've not done a good job of making this a vertical stack. It's a very horizontal set of pages of functions. That got a little busy. Now, one thing you see missing here is a navigation tile. This car doesn't have navigation. That remains optional even with this rather elaborate head unit. Instead, we had to rely on OnStar, which you got to hit the button and talk to the service, and then they'll feed the directions here to the LCD. I would much rather get the onboard nav unless you're really lonely and want to have someone to talk to. You've got a picture viewer here, utterly worthless, but someone's attempt at doing cool. Much more positively, the Pandora integration is the best I've ever used. All I did was pair my phone the first time I got in this car. I punched the Pandora button, and bang, everything just connected and worked. Usually you got to fiddle around and kind of rock it back and forth between the phone and the car. Big ups on that. And you've got all the major modern sources here. Nothing significant is missing, though no HD radio. Now check this out. This guy's got a flip-up LCD, 7-inch, nice saturation and brightness. That gives you a little bin here where you can put your smartphone or media player. But unlike some cars, let me see here. No, there's no power outlet in here, which would be nice. And one downside of having that flip-up screen is that it does give you a little bit of flimsiness on the screen. So when I'm pushing buttons actually on the display, you got kind of a cheap feel. Not bad, but it's a little unnerving. By the way, there's a bass audio system, and we have the upgraded audio system. It's a premium Pioneer rig. It's 10 speakers, I believe. You don't get anything terribly advanced in terms of the DSP, or digital signal processing, but you do get a nice set of EQ, including something that is actually going to be a preset variety or standard bass, mid, and treble.
The backup camera is optional at the LTZ level, and it's very simple. No trajectory indication, no guidelines, just a look off the stern.
You can get a lot of different engines in a new Malibu, but they're all 4 cylinders at this point. There's a 2.5-liter 4, kind of the bread and butter, a 2-liter turbo 4, the hot rod motor, and a 2.4-liter lean burn hybrid powertrain. We have the mainstream guy, a biggish 2.5-liter 4. All the engines have direct injection. You're looking at 197 horsepower here, 191 foot-pounds of torque. Pretty big numbers from a pretty big 4. 0 to 60, though, is also a pretty big number, unfortunately, about 8.3 seconds. MPG, 2234. Side saddle, front wheel drive only. That 6-speed automatic is your only gearbox choice. Let's go for a ride.
Now, like so many cars in the class of this guy, Accord, Camry, and others, indifferent driving is sort of the theme here. Let me put it another way. There's a very loose relationship between the engine, the gearbox, and what the pedal on the right is doing. These are not performance cars in this category of vehicles. They're utilitarian, they're grocery getters, they've got smooth rides. But the basic idea here is that this car is meant to have few surprises in its driving transitions, and that's what it delivers. On the downside, if you're getting into this car because you like to drive, you're going to be disappointed, at least in this one LTZ trim. I don't even have much to say about its steering and cornering because the powertrain doesn't beg you to even try that. Another bit of a gripe I've got here that also adds to the lack of responsiveness is, as I showed you, no shift paddles on the wheel, which are kind of becoming standard these days. And to get shiftability, you've got to put the gearbox lever back in M. Then you can use this little fiddly toggle on the top to change gears. That's dainty, not involved. A lot of folks ask, how's the build quality on a Chevy product? It's real good. There's nothing about this car that doesn't fit beautifully, that doesn't appear to be bolted down real strong and real well. Overall, this is a great little highway car, a wonderful little grocery getter, but you're not going to be very involved in driving it. It's a little appliance-like.
Let's price this 2013 Malibu. We've got a 1LTZ. There's also a 2LTZ. That has a 2-liter turbo. Different car, different video. 1LTZ, which is pretty high trim, starts at about $28,600 for this guy. Now, $1,900 for the electronics and entertainment package. That gets you premium Pioneer audio, backup camera, as basic as it is, and garage door opener. Seems a little steep to me, but I'd rather do that than have some local shop tear apart my audio system to upgrade it. $795 is a great price to add onboard navigation, not rely on that OnStar stuff. And $395 is a steal for forward collision alert and lane departure warning. All in, you're looking at about a $32,000 car that competes pretty well with Fusion, Camry, and Accord.
When the iPad first came out, it immediately faced competition from 7-inch tablets running Android. Unfortunately, they all cost too much, and most of them came with 2-year contracts. Eventually, some genius figured out that the way to compete against the iPad was to make a solid, contract-free tablet for around $200. I'm Donald Bell, and in this week's Top 5, we're counting down the best cheap tablets under $300. These are the tablets that are keeping things interesting. Starting off at number 5, the Samsung Galaxy Tab 2 7.0. Now, don't confuse this with the Galaxy Tab 7.0 Plus, or the Galaxy Tab 7.7, or the Galaxy Tab 8.9, or the Galaxy Tab 2 10.1. This tablet has more sequels than Harry Potter, but this particular tablet hits the sweet spot on price, $249. It also has an IR blaster to control your TV, and best of all, a micro SD card slot. At number 4, the 2012 Kindle Fire. Now, not the HD version, but the old design that Amazon updated with a faster processor, a new OS, and twice the RAM. There's still no camera, and the design is still pretty blah, but the price is $159. That's the lowest price on this list, and it makes this tablet a great value. At number 3, the Barnes & Noble Nook HD. Now, for $199, you get a lightweight 7-inch tablet with a beautiful screen and a micro SD card slot. And because it's from Barnes & Noble, it might even shame you into reading a book or two. Coming in at number 2, the Amazon Kindle Fire HD. Here's another $199 7-inch tablet with a great screen. You also get that 720p camera for Skype video chat and some of the best speakers you've heard on any tablet. And with Amazon, you're also getting a great selection of music and video content that truly rivals Apple. Now, before we get to the number 1 7-inch Android tablet, let's take a look back at the top 5 tablet flops. Remember when they wanted $550 for the Dell Streak? Those were dark times. All right, now the number 1 reason why the iPad should just crawl back to Cupertino, the Google Nexus 7. I still don't know how they pulled this off. $199, Tegra 3 processor, and a completely polished front end for all of Google's best software. I still say it's a micro SD card slot away from being perfect, but it's pretty close. So there you go. Those are the best 7-inch Android tablets out there right now for under $300. Be sure to check out Eric Franklin's roundup over on iPad Atlas, and for more top 5s like this, head over to top5.cnet.com. I'm Donald Bell. Thanks for watching.
In this episode of CNET Conversations, we meet a guy who hitchhiked from Texas to California to get a job at a floppy disk company. Later, he rose to become the CEO of Seagate. Reinvention being the essence of Silicon Valley, his ouster from that job has put Bill Watkins back into startup mode on a mission to light up your life with LEDs.
20% of the American grid of energy is for lighting alone. So you look at that market, how do I make people save money in energy? And how can I do that with intelligent light, from control functions for lower energy light, etc.? You open up all these possibilities, and that's what BridgeLux is about.
First, it's all about LED lighting, but made a different way.
What happens here? This is a reactor room. So that's where we have...
This is nuclear.
Nuclear, yeah. This is where we grow our epitaxial films on our wafers near either silicon or sapphire.
How can you drive down the cost of LED? Because right now LED fixtures for both institutional and consumers are high.
Today, we manufacture LEDs on sapphire-based substrate. This is our 2-inch sapphire wafer.
So sapphire wafer, these are basically sapphire discs, very thin.
It's very thin.
But this is pretty small.
But it's small, it's fairly expensive. Then we thought, well, what can we do different? Boom.
Now this is classic semiconductor business stuff.
This is pure 8-inch silicon.
Wafers,
It's your DRAM, and we basically use gases and materials, and we build a series of layers. What we have solved is the ability to do that 8-inch in those temperatures and those gases without any cracking or breaking or lattice mismatch.
This is where you come in and you go to factories that have moved on to a 12-inch, which is the new high yield. They used to make DRAM for our USB drives or whatever on this, or semiconductors. And you say, you guys aren't doing much with those lines. We can make lights on them.
Make lights on that slide.
Making LED lights in a way that echoes making silicon chips doesn't just drive down cost. It also paves the way to embedding intelligence and new functions into that module that lives in a light socket.
We don't look at that as a socket, we think of it as a node.
When you start putting a light into chips and making them intelligent light, now you have an ability to do applications here. Why not turn your lights off from your iPhone?
It's going to be a light that eventually will react to your environment, your motion. Eventually we can see lights that can look at the room, that will measure what's going on in the room and adjust the light to optimal reading conditions or optimal TV watching conditions.
Watkins departed Seagate after the dramatic falling out with their board, one that led to a new beginning that seems to suit him.
After Seagate, I thought, you know what, I want to go back to real work. I'm tired of lawyers and bankers. I want to go back, and this opportunity came up to look at this company, and I came down here and looked at it, and as hokey as this may sound, I came here and I met these young engineers, and they're 28 years old. I probably don't think they're young, but I kind of fell in love with them. It's been a long time since I've been around a bunch of people who think they're changing the world. And so I said, you know what, I don't need the entourage or the jets and stuff like that. This is what I want to do. That's what I'm doing. Now I want to go back to the entourage and jets. How's Coach Airfare? Right. Yeah. So I'm going to get this as big as I can so I can get myself a jet.
Great motivation.
Yeah, that's right.
As is the idea that Bridgelux engineers could turn the lighting business on its head.
The brand names that we've known for such a long time are going to change.
And I think every light eventually in 10 or 15 years will be LED based. The opportunities are phenomenal, not only in the technology, but in the product and in the whole business model. I mean, that's what makes such an exciting industry. It's going to change dramatically.
Now, you may have noticed that a thread of cost saving winds through all that Bridgelux is attempting. And that approach is going to be essential, as most of their customers, large or small, are used to thinking of lighting as just a cost to be managed, rather than an opportunity to do more with all that infrastructure that lies over our heads.
Apple didn't invent panoramic photography, but if you upgrade it to iOS 6 and you have an iPhone 4S or an iPhone 5, you might have a newfound interest in panoramic photos. Let's start with the basics, and then I'll show you a few tricks. Okay, to start taking your panorama photo, you'll launch the camera app as usual, but then hit Options and select Panorama. Now you'll see that by default, your iPhone will take you from left to right, but if you want to do a panorama from right to left, just hit the arrow. I'll go from left to right though. Now, before you start taking your panorama, you'll want to set the exposure, just like you would any other photo. Obviously, you can't set it for the whole scene, but you can set the general lighting. So to start, hit the shutter button, and now your task is to keep the white arrow along that line. So try and go nice and slow, but if you go too fast or get off track, your iPhone will tell you. You can do a 240-degree panoramic photo, but you can really stop at any time by either hitting done or just moving your phone back a hair. That's it. So unless you have a really steady hand, it's going to be hard to keep that arrow straight. But that being said, you can create some funky photos by intentionally twisting your camera around to create a sort of distorted panoramic photo. And if you put your phone in landscape mode, you can create what's called a vertorama. Just follow the same method, tapping the arrow to change directions. Here's my favorite. Okay, I gave Chris my phone, and now he's gonna start taking a panoramic photo. I'll pose. And as soon as I'm out of frame, I'll run around him. And I'll pose in time to show up in another frame. We did it twice, but you can do this as many times as you want in a long panoramic photo. But in the end, you get a fun photo that's definitely worth sharing. And speaking of sharing, there are a number of ways to show off your panoramic photos. Message, email, photo stream, but if you want to give the viewer a different experience, check out the Tourist app, which utilizes the iPhone's gyroscope for viewing these wide photos. If you have any cool panorama photos to share or any tips I missed, hit me up on Twitter and check out more how-tos at howto.cnet.com. For CNET, I'm Sharon Vaknin.
Now, self-parking is almost inevitable these days because so many cars already have the parts in them to enable it. Let me show you. First of all, here in the front, these are your front parking sensors. Lots of cars have these. I bet yours does. You know, beep, 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 beep. These corner sensors, a little less common, but they're starting to pervade across the automotive industry. Now, in the back, of course, we have more sensors, as well as the rear camera. They look straight back, which gives the car the ability to do some image recognition, especially of what's along the side here in terms of the curb distance. And of course, other vehicles often have side cameras under the mirrors and front cameras that can also be taken into play. All you have to add to that is a way to turn the wheel. That's where electric power steering is very critical. Lots of cars are using it now for fuel efficiency, less drag on the engine, but while you're at it, that's a computer addressable steering rack. Unlike the old dumb hydraulic rams, it all comes together with software. Let me show you. Okay, I enabled the automatic parking, and now the car, as it says, is scanning for a parking space on the right side, a parking space big enough for this vehicle. That's the key thing. A lot of people can't judge that very well. Okay, it says it found one. Pull a little further forward, and then it tells me when to put the car into reverse. And now, hands off the wheel, and just nibble it back. I'm just going to use creep once I get this thing rolling, and just work the brake. Hands off. And it's reading all of its sensors, camera, it's looking for the distance to the cars, distance to the curb, angle of the car, working that electric power steering rack. That's a key technology. This space is really tight. It's going to require some back and fill. Now I'm watching at the back here so I don't bump into that car. Right there, it says here to stop, go in the drive. It goes full lock, all the way forward. And it's going to tell me to come back in a minute. This nibbling logic to me is really impressive. It says stop now, go back in reverse. And let's see how this is going to work. Look at this. That's pretty good. And then I'm going to pull it forward, do a little last nibble. That is a pretty good parking job.
Good things can come in little packages. That's what Apple's betting. Reports of a smaller sibling to the full-sized iPad have been circulating for months, but the rumors will probably be put to rest Tuesday with the introduction of an iPad mini.
The big rumor is that we'll have a 7.85-inch screen. To put that in comparison, the current iPad is 9.7 inches, so it's noticeably smaller, and you'll typically have something that's a little bit closer to a Kindle Fire or a Galaxy Nexus.
Longtime Apple observers may recall that Steve Jobs famously rejected the idea of a 7-inch device. So why the change of heart?
He once totally went against the whole idea of having a smaller device, saying people would need to shave their fingers down with sandpaper to use it. But at the same time, competitors really proved that that smaller device can kind of work.
Even in a crowded marketplace, Apple offers something unique.
Apple is introducing this supposed iPad mini on October 23rd, which is also the same day that the Microsoft Surface goes on sale. And then a few days later, Windows 8 actually appears. This is going to be a very crowded space.
For consumers entrenched in the Apple ecosystem, the iPad mini may be an easier sell. It easily syncs with your other iDevices. It gives you more screen real estate than an iPhone, and it costs less than an iPad.
But that doesn't mean it'll be a bargain. Prices for the petite iPad are expected to range between $200 to $400. In San Francisco, I'm Sumi Das, CNET.com for CBS News.
What's up, Prize5 fans? I'm Brian Tong, and e-readers continue to be a red-hot product, so we're throwing 2 CNET Editor's Choice e-readers into the ring. It's a prize 5 punch-out between the Amazon Kindle Paperwhite with special offers and the Barnes & Noble Nook Simple Touch with Glow Light, both priced at $119. Our judges for this fight are Executive Editor John, the Maltese Falcone, Executive Editor David, the Bad Boy Carnoy, and myself, Ring-a-ling-a-ding-kong. Now we'll take all 3 judges' scores and average them out to the nearest 10th each round. The final prize fight score will be an average of all rounds using the same system. We're going 5 rounds deep. First up is design. Amazon's Kindle Paperwhite streamlines its design with an all-black border that takes design cues from the entire Kindle family. Its minimalist design brings a soft rubber backside, and it's about 20% thinner compared to the Nook, but a little heavier in weight. Now the Nook Simple Touch with Glow Light has a unique e-reader design with rounded corners accented by a gray border and a contoured booty design that's more ergonomic and comfortable to hold. We wish it was a little thinner, but its smaller footprint is still nice. I like curves, but the judges overall give the Kindle Paperwhite the edge with a perfect 5, and the Nook Glow Light gets a 4.7. Next round is navigation and interface. The Kindle Paperwhite removes all physical buttons except for a power button at the bottom. The lack of a central home button at the bottom means you'll always have to change your hand position whenever you want to access your toolbar by tapping at the top or even turning on the built-in light. That can be annoying. Now its all-touch interface uses a capacitive touchscreen for turning pages with a swipe, and it's overall a tad bit snappier to use. Now since we're comparing the special offers version, you'll always have a banner on your home screen and your screensaver, so that can take away from the experience. Now the Nook brings both touch and physical control navigation. When reading books, you can move through the pages by either touching or swiping the screen, or using the physical controls on the side to turn pages. Pressing the center brings up more settings and options. The home button is the heart of the navigation, easy to access, and it brings up the main toolbar. Plus, holding it down activates the glow light for reading, and overall the feel and controls here are just better. The Nook gets a perfect 5, and the Kindle gets a 4. So after averaging 2 rounds, the Nook takes the lead. Next round is features. The Kindle's biggest feature is its new screen with the Paperwhite built-in light that's brighter and is lit a little more consistently. Plus, its screen resolution is higher for slightly crisper text. Now my favorite reading feature is X-ray mode that breaks down important characters or locations, but it's not available for all books, and time to read lets you know when you'll finish a chapter. Now you won't find a headphone jack or speakers anymore, but you'll still get an experimental web browser that I recommend you never use, ever. Now another killer feature is Amazon's lending library, and if you're an Amazon Prime member, you'll have access to 180,000 books that you can borrow, including the entire Harry Potter series, and that's huge. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome everybody. This is CNET's live event coverage of the Apple event. This is October 23rd. It's happening over in the California Theater in San Jose. And like we've done in the past, we cover all these live events with the play-by-play. We'll also be including parts of Apple's video stream because I know some of you watching are like, why do I have to watch this right now here with CNET? Well, we're going to give you some live commentary play-by-play in the house. Joining us, Mr. Donald Bell.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, for sure. I'm Brian Tong, if you haven't heard already. Also, Molly Wood will be joining us shortly. And Mr. Stephen Beacham, running the show in the house. So what we've done in the past here is it's about an hour before the start of the actual keynote. We're going to be able to take your calls, your live tweets. We want to hear what you guys have to say. We're going to start things off. You guys can call us our phone line. This is live, and you're going to want to be nice to Jamie, who's our, our phone, I guess, operator, guru?
Sure.
Is that what you call her? Yeah,
Both.
sure. Yeah, so Jamie, you can call her, be nice, at 1-888-900-CNET. That's C-N-E-T. 1-888-900-2638. And to start things off, we want to hear what you guys are most excited about hearing. We know there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of rumors and rumblings. Really, we expect to see the iPad mini, pretty much, right?
The headliner.
That's the big headliner. And we also, do we show the exterior shot of the San Jose, California Theater? Right now, this is where press journalists are. We have a live camera there just to show you the exterior, kind of to set the stage at the theater. Oh, goodness. Now, Apple, back in 2005, they actually did do an event here. It was like an iPod iTunes event with the red curtains. It looks like a very, almost like it kind of looks like Muppet Theater inside. I don't know if you've seen it. I don't expect...
That would be so great if that's how they opened up.
Maybe the Rainbow Connection to get things started with Kermit.
And we're like the two grumpy old men in like the booth.
Yeah. Hi ho there, Kermit the Frog here at the Apple iTunes event. Okay, I won't do. I promise I won't do that anymore, guys.
All right,
I don't. Thanks. So stick with us. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is let's first of all just talk a little bit about what we've heard so far. Kind of lay the land. We've talked about the iPad Mini. This is a 7-inch tablet that we expect to see. Other than that, though, Apple hasn't revealed any earth-shattering, or the rumor mill hasn't revealed any earth-shattering features that we may or may not see. For you, Donald, what do you expect to see out of the iPad Mini?
I think the only expectation here is that Apple probably won't be doing just like a copycat Kindle Fire product, right? Apple's whole MO is that they usually like to take a product that they don't see doing as well as it could be and then doing something radical with it. Like they didn't invent the first tablet, they just did a very radical change to it. They didn't invent the MP3 player, but they did something very significant with it. I'm hoping to see something along those same lines with that 7-inch tablet form factor. I don't know what that'll be. My guess is that they're really going to try to make this the iPad for kids and maybe push on the educational market since they've had so much success with that already.
Okay, guys, we will get your calls, but right now we have a special call-in from our own senior editor. This is Scott Stein. He's on site, and he's going to give us a little breakdown of what he's seen and feeling and hearing from the people around him outside of the California Theater. Scott, my man, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you doing?
You sound wonderful. Good morning, my man.
Oh, good. Yeah, we're bright and bushy-tailed, and we've been filed through for registration, so we're in the antechamber and waiting for things to start. So down in San Jose, which I'd never been to before.
It's where I went to school, by the way.
Oh, really?
Just want to let you know that you're in my home turf, so just be careful, okay? You watch
we
those
went to
tight
the
alleys.
Wagon Wheel last night for ribs. Have you ever been there?
I have been there before. Were they tasty?
They were not bad. They were not bad. It was very cold, and they didn't serve hot drinks.
So, Scott, we're looking at a photo of you right now. What's the overall mood and feeling and atmosphere amongst the journalists like yourself that are there? Are you guys even talking to each other? Because I know sometimes it can get a little feisty between the different groups. But what are you guys feeling out there?
We've talked to people, and even people are sort of like cautiously curious and interested. I think some people wonder if there'll be a surprise. Other people are sort of just wondering, what the Mac landscape's going to look like, and wondering about the live streaming, which is not something that normally happens. What was the motivation? But I think just kind of it's funny because we just had one 6 weeks ago, and so we feel like sort of just like we just saw each other, and so there's a little bit of like, what will this one be?
Yeah, definitely. I think that one thing that Scott just pointed out is the fact that they are live streaming this event. So what's cool about our coverage is that we're going to be bringing you a combination of our live stream as well as Apple's stream that they're putting out on Apple TVs, through their website as well. This is one of those events that everyone's going to be able to see. At the same time, that makes me wonder, will we necessarily see something big, or maybe not, because they're making it accessible for everyone to watch. They don't do that often.
No, I think it's interesting that they're putting it on their own products, though, right? So that you're having to, the Apple lovers out there are going to have to go out and use their Apple products to watch Apple's event and hear it from the mountaintop.
Scott, you were going to say something?
Oh yeah, I agree. They don't do it that often, and the other question here is, Rich Brown is here, and and we're talking about Macs, and I think that that you look at the iMacs and everything, they really haven't been updated in a while. So will there maybe be like a really aggressive design change, or will it be something really kind of interesting in that space? Who knows? And then what will it just be the iPad that we expect is coming, or will there be other elements? So kind of like turning that over, and there's less that has been sort of pre-discussed, I feel, about this potential iPad than the iPhone 5. So when you break down like specs, there's really a lot of unknowns. So there's like a little more mystery, I feel like, hanging in the air in terms of what this will be.
Yeah. All right, well, Scott, we want to let you get back to work. I know it's going to be busy for you guys. Scott will be part of our live blog coverage. So thanks a lot for calling in, Scott. We'll catch up with you in the live blog, all right?
Awesome, yeah, we're filing in. Okay, thanks.
So Scott, kind of helps us segue to our other part where we wanted to talk about some of the things that we're hoping, planning, or have heard, and we might expect to see. Now, we talked about the 7-inch iPad. Yeah. Some of the specs on that is there was a leak. Oh, there's always leaks, right? Yeah. Of the battery, and the size of the battery, which was about a third the size of the current iPad, but 3 times bigger than the iPhone. And a lot of people said, well, if it's just a battery that's less than the current iPad and not even that much more, there may not be a Retina display on the 7-inch. We don't know that for sure. But because the Retina display requires more power, it'll be interesting to see if do you think they need a Retina on a 7-inch iPad?
I think the competition out there absolutely has been pushing on the high-resolution displays, even with the Kindle Fire HD, the Nook tablet HD, the Nexus 7. All of them have pretty high-resolution displays. But I like Scott's other point, too, about how going into the iPhone 5 announcement, we literally knew everything about this phone, down to, like, you could build the case for it already because we knew all the components inside and out. And Apple's done a much better job locking down the secrecy of whatever the iPad mini is going to be.
Yeah, I think overall the secrecy has been a little tighter, but we've still heard a lot of things. We've seen a lot of renders for the designs. I know case companies that have already sent me in the mail iPad mini cases.
Right.
So over in China, where a lot of the leaks are happening, and because their supply chain and their their manufacturing is spread out to multiple companies, it makes it a lot more difficult to get a hold. So what we're gonna do here, let's go take a phone call, because I know people have been waiting for phone calls, and let's take my man Nick, who's been waiting patiently. Nick, what's going on? Nick, come here. There we go. Hey Nick, what's up?
Hey, I'm Brian Tong. Am I live?
You are live, my man. And did you say you're Brian Tong? Because I can tell you right now, I'm Brian Tong. I just want to, just unless you have a skunk stripe or something, then okay, we can talk. But Nick, what's up? Well, thanks for calling in and hanging out with us in the show today.
Hi. I never believed I got live, but okay.
You should just hang up on him now. It'd be.
I have a question for you.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, Nick, that's awesome.
Do you think they're going to announce iTunes 11?
I think so. I think that they previewed iTunes 11 at the last keynote. I don't think there's any reason for them not to, now that we have all these new lines of iPods out. They're releasing the new line of iPads potentially that would go hand in hand with the new software. So my gut tells me that, yes, we'll see iTunes 11. It would be a little curious not to. Like, what are they going to do? Release it in December right before Christmas? Just do it now. They've had time to work on it. They already previewed it in some ways. So my guess, iTunes 11. It's funny, a lot of people have asked about iTunes 11. So there you go, Nick. All right, that's what we expect to see. Any other thoughts on that, Donald?
No, I mean, I think the other thing is just Apple has a finite amount of products. Like, you can just, by process of elimination, we can probably figure out what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're going to take another call. This one comes to us, Milton from Tallahassee. What's up, Milton?
Yeah. Hey, what's up?
What's going on? So what are you looking to see, or what's your question you have?
I want to know if they're going to, allow more customization, like widgets, maybe multitasking features. I think it's possible.
Did you say Apple and customization in the same sentence? No, I'm just kidding with you. But Yeah, no, I think that
You know, because Windows coming out and a couple of, you know, I think, I think they should move more towards the customization.
Oh, I'm absolutely there for you. I'm getting a little bored with iOS, to be honest with you, even though
I
it's
will
really
play.
clean.
I'll play devil's advocate. I'll say no. I think they know that if people really want customization, that Android is out there. There's no way they're going to try to out customize Android.
The hardware, but
Yeah.
you know, you want the hardware with the customization. You know, just a little bit of customization, like maybe a split screen.
They could, Milton. Thanks for calling in, Milton. I think that I'm on board with Donald. I don't think they do it, and specifically, I don't think we see it here. I've even just to get some sort of widgets on that search screen. You know, when you type in search and there's all that blank space underneath it. If there was some way to put widgets like that, or even integrate some of the services in their drop-downs notifications, I feel like that's where they could put something like that if they wanted
it'll
to.
trickle out, but they've so won over the crowd of the "it just works" and that's why I bought the product category that for them to spring too much on that audience, I think would probably be against their interest.
And I think Milton makes a good point, right? He's bringing up all the other manufacturers like Android and Windows that are doing this. And is it a thing where Apple's going to eventually down the road follow suit? My hunch would probably be no. I think they're happy enough with the sales that they got. I want more customization personally.
They're also dealing with like Microsoft right now doing a whole huge change and putting people out of their comfort zone in terms of Windows 8. And so if they can right now ride this out and be like this more stable OS and stable seeming company, then they can win over some users potentially who would just want the desktop and the safety and what they're used to instead of the crazy Metro newness.
Yeah, so just to give you a recap for those of you who joined us a little later, we're here covering Apple's live event. It'll start approximately somewhere around 10 a.m. We also want to thank our partners Livestream, Ustream, YouTube streaming. They're going to, if you're watching us from all these different places, we know that there's live chats involved with that. Send us your questions. We will not only address the people that are calling us live, we'll also talk about your tweets throughout the show. And then also, if you go to CNET.com, we have our main page where we're showing off our live blog. That is where you can follow play-by-play. And inside of that live blog, we have our polls. What we want to do is really make this even more interactive for you guys, for your voice to be heard. So we have an interactive poll right there on the very bottom of our, right below the video, right below, see right here? Right there, see? It works, right? All right. So below me, the question that we have to ask all you lovely ladies and gentlemen out there, which potential Apple announcement excites you the most? Is it the iPad mini, the MacBook Pro 13-inch Retina, the iMac, the Mac mini, or just one more thing? We want to know what you think. I wanted to vote for Tim Cook's shirt. Unfortunately, they wouldn't let me put that on the poll. But
I want the lightning adapter in black.
Really? I'm going to leave now, guys. All right.
I want the lightning adapter to exist.
Oh, my gosh, Molly Wood.
Good morning.
Molly Wood's here in the house, guys.
Molly
We told you it would be
Wood.
Donald, myself, Molly, and Steve. So Molly has joined us. We will be here all the way through. So remember, guys, you can take your live calls, your tweets, ask us anything you want. But again, right now in our poll, according to, we don't have the number of respondents that I can see, but according to our poll right now, once you make a vote, it looks like 53% of the respondents are saying iPad mini. That's what they're most excited to see. 18%, everyone just hopes and wishes Apple does just one more thing. Everyone wants Apple to do just one more thing. We'll see. But 18% have voted for that. 13% follow up with a MacBook Pro 13-inch Retina that's been rumored to be released here today. Also, the iMac comes in at 11%, and the Mac Mini comes in at 5%. So we'll kind of keep up on those polls. Molly, is there, whether you're in the market or not, is there any product that, you know, for this announcement gets you interested or semi-juiced or is curious?
I mean, of course, I am intrigued by the idea that they would do an iPad mini because it makes me wonder if this is kind of one of those Steve Jobs things that he has been legendary for all those times. Like, we're never going to put FM in an iPod.
Right.
Until we do. Because
Until we
he
run
was
out of ideas.
because he was so adamant about the 7-inch tablet being a dud that going so far as on the earnings call once to say you would have to file down your fingers to use a 7-inch tablet, which was both gruesome and kind of awesome. And so I kind of just wonder how long this has been in the pipeline.
Yeah.
But also, I thought that was a huge mistake, and I think the market has borne that out, that people actually do want a smaller tablet because they realized like so many of us, they don't want to carry a laptop and a 10-inch tablet in the same bag with a smartphone. That just doesn't make sense. So I actually think this tablet size is a winner. I think there are a ton of people who will want it. But for me personally, I'm excited that they're going to announce, I hope, a new iMac, because I've decided I totally want an iMac, and I want to get the old one when it gets cheaper after they announce a new one.
That's true. So, one of the things that Molly touches upon is Apple doing a 7-inch. Now, we all know about the Samsung versus Apple infringement trial that kept on going back and forth. And during that trial, it was revealed in Scott Forstall's testimony that Eddie Q had sent emails specifically to Steve Jobs. Eddie Q is I don't know what his official title is. He was the head of iTunes for a while, but now
he's all software.
Software strategy. So Eddie Q, one of the higher ups and execs over at Apple, was kind of prodding and asking Steve Jobs, we should do a 7-inch tablet. This is somewhere back in 2010 after they had seen how people were responding to other products that were out there, the 7-inch category. And so Apple decided to do it. I think it's interesting because I feel like in general, we've seen over the past couple of years, Apple is a different company. And I'm not even saying because of the absence of Steve Jobs, but they've approached their products in a more mature business way. And what I mean by that is we're not seeing the crazy innovation that we used to see right now, right? We've seen the iPhone 4S, the iPhone 5, nothing shattering, just kind of gradual steps, knowing that people are going to buy these and upgrading these. Now, from an iPad to an iPad 7, or whatever they call it, right? iPad 7-inch, that's following where the market has gone, and it's just kind of interesting. When will this next product, whatever it is, that Apple TV, be that next thing where we get floored? Whenever it comes out, 2013, who knows? It's not coming out today, just in case. So if you're here for the Apple, if you're here for the Apple TV, you probably should leave. I'm just saying.
Don't
go. I'm just saying. But if you want to hang out with us, it's all good. So
this is pretty. I mean, it's not a revolution, but it's a new product category for Apple, and that is always exciting, right? To see them do a whole new thing, because I think there are so many questions around how they're going to pull off an iPad mini in a space where they already have an iPod Touch that they just refreshed. That costs $300.
Right.
I mean, I actually don't understand how you could possibly position an iPad mini in a way that doesn't, Apple has always said that they're not concerned about cannibalizing, that they would rather just sell their own products and cannibalize themselves. They're okay with that. But that just doesn't even make any damn sense.
Well, I think
is this thing, can it cost $200?
I think they could do it.
It can't.
It's going to be $329, $349.
If they stripped it down, which I don't imagine Apple doing, but if they stripped it down, if it was a lower resolution screen, like we were talking about before, if it's not going to be a Retina display, and if they really made it something that was targeted towards kids or the education market, or especially going into the holidays, things to buy your kids, I think that they could bring the price down enough and make it interesting and make it like a holiday hit.
Here's my thinking of what they're going to do. See, Apple's like, look, we're not going to make a budget tablet. We don't care. What we're going to do is just make an Apple tablet that happens to be 7 inches.
Right.
And that price point is going to be around $329, $349.
That's insane.
And you think that's insane, right? But at the same time, there's people, though, that just don't want an iPod Touch, that haven't bought an iPod Touch, that have been waiting for a smaller iPad, because they're like, who's going to buy this thing if an iPod Touch is $299? Their whole argument is going to be, come to the Apple ecosystem. Come to us. We're going to sell for $329, $349. And you know what? Whether you like it or not, I think a lot of people are still going to pick this thing up.
And let's not rule out strategically that this week, that with Microsoft rolling out Windows 8 and all the things going around Windows 8 right now, that Apple coming out with a new product and trying to keep the spotlight on them is just in Apple's best interest from just a PR strategy.
Yeah. What's also crazy-ish is with the whole iPad stuff. Crazy-ish? It's crazy-ish.
We're going to delineate the levels of crazy very carefully over the next few hours.
Crazy-ish is kind of crazy, but we saw a leak from 9to5Mac where they had the number of SKUs for the iPads that we're expecting to see. Now, we've talked about iPad minis and a regular size iPad that's revamped. On that list were 24 different SKUs. Okay, so right now the current iPad has 12 SKUs, 2 colors, 3 capacities, a Wi-Fi version, or a Wi-Fi and cellular version, right? Do the math, that's 12. So with the iPad mini, it appears, this is not confirmed yet, but it appears that we'll see along the same lines. That's why I think that they're just going to make an iPad, but just make it smaller and sell it at the prices that they want, where 12 SKUs are for the iPad minis, and 12 SKUs will be for the regular new revamped iPad with the Lightning connector.
And it could be just like the iPod.
I know, right? Boggles the mind.
It could just be like the iPod Nano, where it's ugly enough just to chase you up into the actual iPod.
Yeah, there you
or
go.
iPad, right?
Yeah.
So
It all made sense, though, when people suggested that those SKUs could just be related to colors and memory. You don't think so, though?
Well,
think
if you
they're
do
actually going to do...
I think if you do the math, you're right? What Molly's talking about is maybe they're making multiple colors and just like 6 different ones at an entry-level point. But I just don't see how they can get past... Why would they make an iPad less than an iPod Touch?
It has to be.
I
think it has to be. I mean, because even at $329, there's no way that it can have a Retina display and the kind of camera capability that the iPod Touch has at $299.
It may not.
I mean,
have to,
I think there's a distinct chance that we're going to get like kind of a dud.
I don't know.
All will be revealed.
I think I don't know. We'll see. We don't. No one here really.
And I do think that there may be a market for a 7-inch iPad. I can't imagine that there's a market for a 7-inch iPad.
That's 300 plus.
That's 300 plus. That to me it would be kind of DOA. Although I have said that kind of thing before.
Well, you said you weren't going to get an iPhone 5.
I only did that for what, dude. I hate it. I hate it. I hate that phone. If it was not my job to have that phone, I would have returned it for an iPhone 4S.
Okay.
I can't stand it.
Let's go hit up the phone lines. You guys have been patiently waiting for us. Cortland in Ohio. Cortland, what's up?
What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on?
Mayan.
Not much, dude. I'm on my lunch break talking to you guys on the way to get some food.
I love it. What are you going to eat?
I'm going to eat some sushi, actually.
Oh! Sushi in Ohio.
Yeah.
Make sure that fish is fresh, my man, all right?
I did not see that coming.
I do not want you to be, like, blah, blah, blah. We don't want that. So, Cortland, what's up? What's your question today?
My question is, do you guys believe that we'll see a new launch of improved smart covers and cases like the Surface is going to have?
So you're talking about a case with a keyboard kind of integrated, much like what Microsoft Surface has?
Everything like the old ones are.
Okay, well, thanks, Cortland. Thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it and enjoy that sushi, okay?
I know. Enjoy your sushi. So, smart. I mean, I think we'll see new smart covers of the magnetic type that make it come on and do the magic and fold up and look really cool origami. I don't know. They're doubling down on the touchscreen thing. Like, that could introduce buttons, and we know how they feel about that.
And,
I'm going no on the buttons.
I'm saying no on the smart cover with buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's part of their quote unquote philosophy or how they view how an iPad should be used. They're going to be like, hey, third-party manufacturers, you make some sort of case hybrid cover. We'll let you guys do that. We're just going to sell our smart covers, which they have. And to be honest, they probably make a lot more money off of their smart covers that are quite simple, but cost $30 to $35.
Right.
I'm just saying. Okay, let's go hit up. I'm just saying. You bastards. David from Ontario, Canada. My man. What's up?
Hey, how are you?
Good.
How are you?
Thanks for calling. What's your question?
The question is actually two in one kind of question. The iPad Mini. When they released the iPad Mini back in a couple of years ago, they talked about the specs and everything. And then the next year, the iPad 2. Why they were talk about the iPad Mini then and release it then before the iPad 3? So if they decide to make the 7-inch, what they did a couple years earlier, and see how they react and see how the customer likes it, and then make another version today. And then the question is, another question is, just one more thing. They haven't released iPod Classic for a while. I'm thinking is they will release it something iPod Classic today.
Okay, David. So let's just. He was saying a lot of things about iPad Minis being released before iPads and iPad 2s. I'm just as confused as you there.
Hung up on us?
And then he just one more thinged me, and I was like, "What, dude?"
Who?
Okay.
In a what?
I will say this on the right. I don't think there's any motion on the iPod Classic anymore. They're still selling it, and it's just one of those,
It's just one of those things that's there.
Going.
They're selling the same iPod Classic from 2 years ago. It's still working.
No one wants Classic 2.0.
Yeah, what?
It's Classic.
It's I mean, most people that buy the Classic get it because it has monster storage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's pretty much that market. It's not the biggest market, and it probably still won't be for a while. And now everything's going to the cloud. Ideally, down the road, we'll be able to cloud some of that stuff. But
it is actually it's interesting though because we've been trying to buy iPod Touches for Always On to break, and or to give them to children. And the 32.
That's the decision.
Yeah,
Will I break it or give it to a child who needs
both.
it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But so the 32 gig is super hard to come by, and the Apple reps tell us that the 64 gig, at least the people at the store, you know,
Right.
but that's the most popular one because people really are wanting to load them up with all their media, just put all the movies, all the shows, all the stuff that they buy from iTunes, partly because iCloud is not that good.
Yeah, it's not there.
It's not there, but that there is that to me suggested that there is still a market for kind of dumb storage, but dumb storage with a nice screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think there is an iPod Classic coming back, but I think it could behoove them to make iPods with bigger drives.
But
although those
we
big
were
flash
hoping-
drives are still so expensive.
Yeah.
We were hoping they'd
It's
do
not
that
gonna
even.
happen,
Remember during the iPhone 5 event, we were hoping.
Yeah.
We were talking about it. You know, some of us thought it would, some of us thought it wouldn't, but it still hasn't happened, at least from a phone side.
Yeah, I mean, at the price that phone is, it could be a 128 gig drive. Like that's doable, and it's kind of disappointing that they aren't doing it, especially because iCloud to me still is immature.
But I do think to get to the point I think he was making, if I understand.
David, we love you,
yeah,
okay? You're not a reflection of people that live in Ontario, Canada.
Of why Apple didn't try to release a 7-inch tablet, let's say, a year ago or earlier this year. I mean, Apple has been selling the most successful tablet across, like, by any measure, with the original design of the iPad. So why would they mess with the formula that's working so well for them? And when they can just ride that out as long as they can, I think
Absolutely.
now they're probably in a good place to monkey with the formula a little bit and see if they can squeeze a new product out of this. But
They have competition.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's very canny to have, because I'm sure that they were testing a 7-inch, that they were thinking about whether they should do it, and then they just got to sit back, have the best-selling tablet in the world, and watch to find out whether there was demand for a 7-inch tablet, and then kind of go like, okay, there is.
Because
Let's do it.
the fighting between 7-inch tablets over the past year has been so aggressive, and there's been so much a refresh over what people want out of that 7-inch tablet. Like this time last year, we were talking about the Amazon Kindle Fire, the original one, with like no camera, this chunky body,
Yeah.
and like the worst kind of design of a tablet you can think of for that space. But it was $199, and everyone freaked out. And now we're talking about the Nexus 7 tablet, which is light years ahead of what we were talking about in the 7-inch space a year ago. And so Apple probably was waiting to see when someone got it right. I think enough people are getting it right now that it's time to jump in.
The world is Apple's focus group.
So, all right, guys, just to remind you guys, if you want to call in, just like our friends have, so the number is 1-888-900-CNET. We're going to be taking your calls all through the show. Another really cool thing for those of you who just jumped in with us is we're going to be showing not only our live coverage, but we have access to Apple's live streaming video event that is going to complement our coverage, which is going to be killer. So once 10 a.m. hits, we're going to be able to do that. Also, we just want to say, for those of you watching on Ustream, live stream, YouTube streaming, CNET, everywhere you guys want to go, we thank you for coming and hanging out for us. And I kind of wanted to shift. We've talked about the iPad a lot right now, but we're also expecting to see some of these other things. Scott Stein and Molly touched upon it about the new iMacs. And this is a product that Apple has not updated in over 500 days, all right? So This is something that has been primed. We know that our own senior editor, Rich Brown, who's our desktop guy, was invited to the event, which typically points to desktops. I'm not saying we're 100% going to see the iMac because I still feel it might be 50-50, but we still need it. We hope to see it. Some of the things that people are talking about recently on the rumor sites was now that this new iMac would have a more teardrop design. Have we heard that one before? Yes.
Also, what does that even mean?
Well, we have it looks
not
like
a
it's like
square,
a teardrop. It's like teardrops.
Like the old one?
It's like fat and then skinny.
Like the old one.
Skinny and fat? No.
Except the old one was like teardrop like this.
Wow.
Tapered, maybe.
Tapered.
Is a better word for it.
Yeah, a Retina display on this is uncertain because we've never seen Apple produce a Retina display at a large size yet.
Unlikely.
21.5 inches Retina? Really? How much do you want to pay for that?
I was going to say.
You want an iMac?
$9,000. We think you're going to love it.
And I think we probably would have heard about that display in the supply chain, too. Like, that would have been hard not to have that rumor.
You know what also is interesting, though, is that when we talk about the supply chain and all of these leaks, specifically, I feel like the iMac is actually the most mysterious product. And the reason being is everyone is so obsessed with mobile devices, iPads, iPhones, that from a supply chain standpoint, people aren't paying these workers in China to take pictures of the iMac. They're paying them to do the pictures of the iPad and the iPhone.
Right.
And also, let's be honest, you can't smuggle an Mac away in under your shirt. I've tried. It doesn't work. So
loose fitting shirts. You need to go a little looser.
I don't even have. I don't have jeans big enough for 27 inches. I'm sorry.
That was the start of Brian Tong's brief reign as the pregnant man. With the freaky square baby. It was exciting. It was exciting times.
It was great.
No, I think you're absolutely right. But we have tried to kind of make the point, even as we talk about the post PC era and moving into the post PC era, that the post PC era is not minus a PC.
Mm-hmm.
That people still will own personal computers for some reason. And to me, the iMac is the most promising. The all-in-one form factor, I should say, not just the iMac, because other all-in-ones exist. But it's a great form factor because it's a great family computer, and it's something that can live in a living room or the kitchen. I am like, okay, my kid is that age now where it would be great to have a nice big computer in the house and get him the hell away.
Even
from my MacBook Air.
the whole iCloud formula is still geared around a lot of that information backing up and syncing to your home computer, right? So that still needs to be part of the iCloud equation. Right,
Yes.
yeah, your photos, your time capsule, all that stuff, the actual hard backup.
And you
of
actually
it.
totally need that because of the crappiness
Right.
of iCloud.
Yeah. All right, guys.
I am hoping for an iCloud update announcement today, by the way.
An iCloud update?
iCloud announced something related, because that would make sense. They are talking about a universe of products that could all talk to each other. It might be a little far afield because we're expecting a hardware announcement, but Apple's been about tying those pieces of hardware together, and so I would absolutely love it from a personal perspective if they would just, and a professional perspective, they would do something about iCloud, which stinks.
Yeah. All right, guys. We're gonna go. We told you we're taking Ustream and live stream questions. All right, we're not messing around with you guys. We gotta show love to you guys.
Dang.
So we have a question here from our friends at Ustream, asking Molly Wood directly.
Ooh.
This is from Garrett B.A. What up, Garrett?
I'm nervous.
Do you think we will? Do you think Apple will fix Maps today?
No, it is going to take a lot longer than that to fix Maps, I think. I mean, unless they magically fixed their relationship with Google and they all had wonderful makeup sex and got together and fixed it all.
I wonder what that would look like.
Google and Apple Maps.
It's a lot,
serious.
It's a lot of
How's
maps rubbing up on each other.
How does Apple Google? So
anyway, no, you know what? Maps are really hard. That's the biggest bummer of all about the big Maps fail, is that it's extremely hard to put together a data set like that is both accurate and useful and well parsed and graphicalized.
I think
unwrinkled.
To be honest with everyone that has iOS 6 or an iPhone 5, I wouldn't really depend on Apple Maps for at least a year. It takes that much time to really get this thing in order. You might be able to use it in certain capacities, and some people, depending on where you live, are happy with Apple Maps. That's fine. That's cool. But I've had way too many problems where it's told me to go to the west side instead of the east side, which is literally 20 blocks difference. I've used it to try to give it a chance. I'm not using it. So, they have a lot of work to do. They know it. We'll see it eventually, but I wouldn't go for it until I see a real, legitimate revamp, not just a trickle of, we added the 3D version of the Statue of Liberty. I'm going to use it now.
Apple totally owes me $2.35, actually. Because it took me to the wrong place, and I paid for parking at the wrong place. And then I had to go to the right place and pay for parking again. So, Apple, I'm sending you a bill for my $2.35.
All right, our friends
$2.
from a live stream, Zamora Lola. That's a beautiful name, Zamora. I hope you're listening and looking into my eyes right now. What do you think?
Oh, sorry. Oh, God, that was rude. I've got a bug.
The wink that gets you.
No, the wink was quite effective. I know. Zamora, you're feeling me.
No, it works.
Trust me, guys. Use it. Use it. Okay. Zamora Lola asks us as a whole, what do you think about iOS versus Windows 8?
Ooh.
You want to start?
Sure. I feel like they're very different products. Windows is still coming from a legacy of Windows-ness, the desktop version of Windows, and they're trying to really plant a flag into the next generation of Windows and users who are going to get more accustomed to a touchscreen and being able to dive into what they need right up front. But it's still I don't think there's any threat of lawsuits between the two because they're very different approaches to the UI and to what you're getting done. But I also feel like Windows still has to support a lot of software and a lot of legacy code that mobile products like iOS don't have to deal with. And so there's going to be an ironing out of wrinkles in that too. over the next year.
I like what I see as a first start. Personally, I like, at least from a mobile standpoint, I'm not still sold on the whole switching between the desktop environment versus the new UI environment of Windows 8, but I do like the Windows 8 interface from a mobile standpoint. It's going to take time for them to catch up, but it's, everyone talks about how it's a long game, or is Microsoft too late? I at least like what I see. From what I've used, I like what I see. Now, am I going to switch over? Not yet. I'm in an Apple ecosystem, and we always talk about the ecosystem. That's the biggest Trojan horse. Once you're in that ecosystem, it's hard to want to switch. It's you really have to be so dissatisfied with the OS and the device that's going to force you, like, all this media content that I have purchased through this ecosystem that may or may not work, or maybe a pain in the butt to transfer over or to convert. That's the biggest obstacle for a lot of people, I feel like.
I think it is, although I think it still is only Apple users who are still buying so much content because iTunes, it's deliberate that iTunes encourages you to purchase and own so much content that will then be locked to that ecosystem. But like the music isn't, and the video, you could argue that you could happily live with a Windows phone, a Windows PC, an Xbox, and an iPad, and watch all your movies on an iPad. I mean, I actually do think that if Microsoft gets it together, that the ecosystems haven't solidified so much that it's impossible to move, or that it's impossible to kind of coexist with some of them. And that's ultimately what consumers want. So they will find a way to make that happen. I want Microsoft to just get it to, like, here's an example. They have a new store opening in Corte Madera up in Marin County. Good place to try to sell some stuff and to rich people, and maybe compete with Apple.
Ewoks.
So they've got their like
Ewoks live in Corte Madera. Is that confirmed?
I think so.
Is that confirmed?
Marin County.
Okay, we'll look into that for you guys.
That's news to me. Are you talking about just those furry boots they all wear? They have the Surface tablet coming out on the 26th. They have a big announcement on the 29th. The new Corte Madera store opens on November 1st. Do you guys not talk? Like, I want to believe in the Microsoft machine and its ability to get things done, except for how could I possibly believe in the Microsoft machine and its ability to get things done? And then the frustrating part is, like you said, it's a good operating system. The phones are really good. It is literally going to come down to their ability to market it and get people to want to buy it, because it's frankly very good, an extremely good Apple competitor, and it comes at a time when I think that the iPhone is as weak as it's ever been. I think that because of the software problems and the hardware and the switch over, and like, if you're gonna buy new accessories anyway, why not buy them for a Windows phone?
So like they said, I think we even said this last time. We're like, they just need to sell it and market it, because it's not a bad product.
Right.
They just need to get it out there. We will, let's take some phone calls, because there's been a lot of people waiting patiently, because we've been talking to each other instead of you, which is completely our fault.
My fault.
So let's go to Donald, not this Donald. Donald, all the way from St. Louis. Donald, before I get to you, I need to apologize for the Giants destroying the Cardinals last night. But beyond that, I still love you.
I can barely hear you.
Donald, what's going on? Can you turn down your computer volume so that we can talk?
Yes.
All right, there we go. Donald, what is your question, my man?
The question I have, I wanted to know, when is it time to say enough with the Apple products? Because they're constantly getting kind of the same if you already have so many.
That's up to you, my friend. I mean, are you at that point?
I have an iPhone, iPad. The only thing I don't have is an Apple computer. I have all the Apple products: iPad Touch, iPad, the iPad, every iDevice. Just about.
Yeah, that's a lot. Well, are you fatigued by it? Because sometimes, you know how they say, like in relationships, the grass is always greener, but it may not be for you. I mean, are you fatigued with the? You know what I mean? So, are you fatigued with it, or you just want something fresh and new?
I guess I'm trying to see what the iPad Mini has to offer. I mean, because I don't personally think I'm going to end up getting it unless Apple just surprisingly throws a huge surprise up.
Like it makes you a sandwich.
So,
will you buy it if it makes you a sandwich? No? Okay. Well, Donald, thanks for calling. We totally appreciate it. And I don't know. Do you guys have Apple device user fatigue? I mean, are there people out there on Twitter? Let us know at the hashtag CNET Live. Are you guys fatigued because you have too many Apple products? I don't know.
They're probably, yes.
I mean,
it's not. I don't think it's that they have too many Apple products. It's that they probably bought them all, and then are like, for God's sake, why do I have to buy more? And why is my iPad 2 years old and starting to completely crap out? It's 2 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that the march of, and Apple has always had this problem. It's just that they didn't used to have so many products.
Yeah.
So now if you are sitting on a pile of devices that Apple's now told you is useless, it's a big pile of devices, and it is getting, I think, increasingly tiring to keep up. And at some point, you can only be told so many times how revolutionary something is before you're like, you know what? I don't think that really is revolutionary.
Well, I can tell.
no
Wait
magic
a
in
second.
There's no magic.
That's not a unicorn.
Donald from St. Louis, if all indications are correct, you have 24 iPad SKUs that you can invest in after this keynote. So, good luck with that. No.
I do think though that personally that there is some hype fatigue. Like I remember
Yeah.
an era
hype fatigue,
not long ago where there's one big Apple event and then maybe like the kind of the laptop desktop event, and that's like a second fiddle. But now it's like it's every few months there's some new Apple event. And I feel like for their part, they're securing the mind share. They're keeping people thinking Apple by having a new thing to show every few months. But man, it's tough, and I shouldn't complain that much because right now this is paying our bills. Right? But it is tough to keep up with the enthusiasm.
You guys say that you're fatigued, but as long as you keep watching these live streams, we're going to keep having to do them.
To be honest, I am not fatigued at all. I could go like 5 hours right now.
All right.
Yeah.
Great.
Wait. Next call from Susie. Susie from Pennsylvania. Susie, thanks for waiting. How you doing?
Hi, Brian. How are you? It's a pleasure to finally speak with you.
Aw, you're so sweet. Susie, come on. You're making an Asian blush. That only happens when we drink alcohol.
Give her a wink.
No, because I
Please
really
don't give her-
think
Oh,
you have
God.
a great sense of humor. I watch all your videos.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, how can we help you out today? What's your question? Thanks for calling in.
Quick question. Do you think Apple is actually leaking their own information?
That is like the most persistent kind of suspicion and rumor of all. We should just ask Donald that, actually, our resident conspiracy theorist.
Well, me personally, I believe that they do because it's about curiosity killed the cat, but they picked that little tidbit out just to keep everybody blood pumping. What's next? What's next?
Yeah, no, Susie, I think you're onto something because although, let me put it this way. Although Apple didn't deliberately leave an iPhone in a bar a couple of years ago, they definitely do have relationships with certain members of the media that stories come out they have relationships where they definitely at least help push it along. I don't think they deliberately say, hey, guy from China, put up that picture on your mobile phone for us. They won't do that.
Yeah.
But they do play. They obviously are a marketing machine, and they've done it like no one else. So I think that they kind of do.
Can I say something quick to Molly? I love iPhones. I don't like Androids. iPhones.
Okay.
Susie, Molly has an iPhone also.
I do. It's right here. It's my.
But you said you didn't like it.
Oh, this one is driving me crazy. That's totally true. But I loved my iPhone 4S and the iPhone 4.
I'm sorry. I've had the Android for over 2 years. I first had the first iPhone, went to Android, and I literally wanted to throw it up against the wall every single day.
I've totally done that.
She has a show where she does that now.
Yeah.
Susie, here.
They can drive you crazy.
Quick thing, Susie, I have an offer for you. We do a show called Prize Fight. If you and Molly want to just duke it out, I'd be more than welcome to watch that. I would love to see that.
I am a uniter, not a divider. I carry both.
All right. Thanks for calling, Susie. Appreciate it, all right?
Thank you so much, you guys.
Have a great day,
All right.
Susie.
All right, so now we have it sounds like some of the press members over at the California Theater have actually been able to enter the building now. So what we have is our special correspondent. We have Bigad Shaban from CBS News inside of the California Theater. Bigad, how you doing? This is Brian.
Yeah, Brian. I don't know if I've ever been called, but this is quite the occasion.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, what is your sense of, if you could describe what's going on inside? Are you feeling the energy there, or is it kind of muted? What do you see inside?
Yeah, so I'm actually probably in about the 10th row here. It's a pretty intimate space, though. It's the California Theater. Reporters and certainly hundreds. And photographers are lining up right now trying to get their spot. And what's sort of an intimate, smaller space. But right now on the projection screen is the logo on a black background as they're sort of anxiously await the announcement.
All right, sorry, we're having a little cell phone connection stuff, but I think what he's basically said is there's a big Apple logo on a black screen projected inside. Bigad, you've been covering, a variety of different stories, from Apple to non-Apple. What's your sense of just the energy there since you're there? Because this is probably one of the first times you've been inside the house.
So what's interesting, I mean, they obviously unveiled the iPhone 5. So coming off of that momentum, I was kind of curious to see if the media presence would be as strong, if the hype would be as intense. And, I think Apple hasn't pointed in their reporters line.
Okay, so you know what, guys? I'm so sorry, Bigad.
Oh,
the cell phone reception was just really poopy-doopy.
Now my conspiracy theories start coming out.
AT&T.
Why was it
We
so
got him.
bad,
Yeah, we're
Apple?
sorry. We just couldn't hear you at all. But I did actually, though. I also was wondering this morning on the way to work what the attention level would be like for this compared to the iPhone 5, because that was, people were. I mean, the hype machine has never been bigger,
right?
And cranking it out, more polluting or whatever than it was that day. And I wondered not only if people were worn out, but if iPad, because, iPad doesn't sell as many units as iPhone, and if it would be as much of a draw.
Yeah, I also feel like
how many people are in chat? Let's see.
This is Tim Cook's first time actually launching a brand new product for Apple, like an unprecedented product.
I think that's why we think it's so interesting.
It'll be because Steve Jobs could always put on that salesman charm and try to and convince us at the end of the announcement that we needed the thing he was talking about, even if we just bought that thing last year.
Right.
He's really gonna have to put on his salesman charm to try to get this thing off the ground.
Now, in good news, just at least in terms of our own time, the journalists are already inside and seated, according to our live blog. So it does seem like maybe they're going to start on time. So far, there's nothing on stage. They're reporting just two bottles of water and a remote control.
Ooh.
What does it mean?
It could be amazing. Yeah, so on site we have our own Josh Lowenson, Rich Brown, and Scott Stein. Right now, there's one of the images from inside the California Theater. This is in San Jose, California. So they're going to be doing our live blog. We will, again, also have Apple's video footage that we're going to be bringing you within our own live coverage and commentary, play-by-play, tweets, all that. So you guys can kind of get a look at what's happening inside. And then we'll be able to watch the Apple event together, like real-time together.
Like a family.
How sweet.
It's so cozy.
It's so precious. So the event is scheduled to start at 10 a.m. Pacific time. That's in approximately about 10 more minutes. So what we'll do is we'll take some more of your calls before we get to that and just kind of talk and shoot some things back and forth.
Also, that's an extremely beautiful photo that James Martin just posted.
Oh, yeah, it's a great theater inside.
I mean, that theater is, it's gorgeous.
I'm a little disappointed there aren't Muppets.
We talked about that. We were hoping. It looks like Muppet Theater. It literally looks like Muppet Theater. You'll see.
We're the Muppets. Aren't we the old dudes in the balcony right now?
That's what I was saying. We're the old balcony dudes.
Come on. Who are you calling an old dude?
I'm not. I'm playing a different role. If they bust out Rainbow Connection, I'm gonna sing it. Somewhere you'll
No.
You know
Yes,
what?
they bust
I
out.
thought you said you were going to, not I'm going to right now.
The lovers, the dreamers in me.
I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry guys.
No, that's my
David.
Now I have that song in my head.
Oh. David, what's up from Jacksonville? What's your question? Thanks for waiting.
My question is, what is, since that the iPad's gonna, or the new iPad Mini, if there's gonna be one, will it be the iPad that we know, or would it be one that's fixed, like iOS on the iPod Nano?
Right.
I mean, like with the
if it'll be a different iOS.
A watered down version, sure.
Wi-Fi and stuff like that.
Okay, thanks for calling in.
I think the iPod Nano is still such a specialized device. It makes sense to keep it simple. With the iPad Mini, hypothetically, I feel like Apple's big push on any of these iOS devices is not the hardware so much as it's selling you content and apps. So I don't think that there would be an iPad Mini that doesn't include an app store and the fuller features of iOS. Now, maybe it won't have FaceTime. Maybe it won't have a front-facing camera. Maybe some of the other maybe it won't have Bluetooth or something. Maybe some features might get whittled down to get that price down, hypothetically. But I still think it's going to be an iOS device.
Just a quick thing while we talk about this more in a second. Take a look inside. We told you this looks like the Muppet Theater. It looks pretty awesome. These are images from Apple. inside of the event, so they're just kind of setting the stage. We will play this while we finish up our commentary and talk to you guys, but that's just a preview of inside. They should do it here more often.
I know.
We talked about in 2005, they actually did an iPod iTunes event here a long time ago. So
this is definitely the Church of Apple right here. If you ever make those religious comparisons to Apple fans, this is now their Mecca.
So for those of you following along,
They're really trying to ramp up the reminder too. Like, you love us. Don't you try to stray.
So maybe we should just do a friendly bet here. Who thinks Tim Cook is going to come down on wires?
I think in a drum cage, a la Tommy.
Ushered in by angels.
Yeah, or he could be hanging from those those streams of cloth. Like
I think
they do
he's going
in,
to
like
be.
Cirque du Soleil
I
or
think
something.
he's going to be naked and covered in angel wings, like Lady Gaga.
I do not want to see that.
Singing Rainbow Connection.
No one else wants to hear. Hey, you know what? If you want to hear the rest of Rainbow Connection, you can tweet me, all right?
No,
don't do that.
Don't do that.
Okay, guys, let's take more calls. Eric's been waiting patiently for us. Eric from Austin, Texas. What's up, Eric?
How's it going, guys?
Good. Thanks for joining us. What's your question, or what do you want to talk about?
My question is regarding the iPad mini storage space. Personally, if I had to make a prediction, I think the iPad mini is going to start at $249 with an 8 gig model and then going up $100 incrementally. I'm just wondering, without what Molly was saying with better iCloud integration, do you think that a $249 8 gigabyte iPad mini would be enough?
Oh, I don't think it is. I think it'll start at 16.
I think it's
I'd
good.
be shocked if they do an 8.
I really feel like they're just going to make a 7-inch iPad that's the same capacities as their current iPad line and start it at $329. That's just me. You know what, Eric? If you are right, next Apple event, you can take my job.
I think that there is some. I think there is something to it, though. I still going to say this over and over until, of course, I'm proved wrong at the end of the event. That
or right in the middle.
That this could be like the computer you buy for your kid, your tween. That this is because you don't want to trust them with a $500 full-on iPad.
People already are.
I know, but you would even feel a little bit better about it if it was half the price.
I don't have an iPad. My 5-year-old has an iPad.
A little bit easier for them to hold. You know,
You really think this is a kid's device? Like it's meant to be?
I think it's. I think it could
for
be.
ladies.
Well, see, here's the sick thing.
I think it's going after the Kindle market.
I think it's
which
going
is like women.
I think it's one of those things where we're talking about it right now. Look, it's serving like multiple markets right now. Just what Apple wanted. Kids, women, men, smaller tablet.
I feel like the iPod Touch is for kids at a god-awful price.
I
really,
think, unfortunately,
it
all
continues to be shameful how expensive that thing is. So this, to me, I think it could be that. I feel like the iPad mini is the device that just makes you mad about the iPod Touch even existing.
Yeah, I still feel they're. I mean, I know they're similar, but that form factor it's just different.
Yeah.
Like you don't have an iPod Touch. Obviously, you have an iPhone.
No, I have an iPod Touch.
Oh, you do too. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you'll be getting an iPad
It's
Mini
my stereo.
probably pretty soon, right?
An iPad Mini?
Just kidding.
No.
I'm just messing.
I
with
mean,
you.
I haven't upgraded my iPad.
Yeah.
I mean, I at least feel like I'm not fatigued by the Apple upgrades because I haven't bought a new iPod except for the damn iPhones.
Mm-hmm.
All the other stuff is old. Like I'm 2 years back on iPad, iPod Touch, and MacBook Air.
Yeah. All right, we're
But
gonna
I
take
have them all. Who am I?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't even know myself.
It all started a couple years ago when I started hanging out with you.
I've been infected.
I'm just telling you. Next thing you know, she's gonna have a black stripe in her hair.
It's like Invasion. That's not happening.
All right, Anthony. And then we can still use if there's images coming in from Apple. Let's just show these while we talk to everybody. Anthony from Trinidad. Anthony, you're calling. I love it. What's going on, man?
Hi. Well, as I was hearing from you guys, I'm a little bit like Molly in this case. I am more waiting for the iMac to change because I'm a graphic artist and that's my computer preference. Let's go that way. What I wanted to ask you guys was how much of an innovation could fit into Apple's budget with launching this tablet, because I don't see how, just like Molly said, how much they could change so that it could be both affordable and, attract as many sales as it could, being 7-inch and all that.
All right, Anthony, thanks for calling in. So what Anthony is asking is he's saying, what can they put inside this iPad mini to still make it affordable? My answer is, if affordable is $199, we're not going to. I don't think we're going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. And He also talked about the iMacs. I've been waiting for a new Mac Pro because I do a lot of video editing on the side. Like, I've been waiting for a Mac Pro. We didn't talk about this, but we're pretty much not going to see a Mac Pro here today. If they do, that will be a huge shocker. Tim Cook alluded to in one of the earnings calls that we'll see something in 2013, at least from the Mac Pro side. But an iMac, I'm debating, depending on what they do with this iMac, I'm debating whether to pull the trigger on it and just say, forget you, Mac Pro. I've waited over 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years. You know, I know desktops aren't as hot, but
they've abandoned
they
that
serve,
pro market that built Apple. I mean, they really have to some extent abandoned it.
Yeah. So we'll see if they in 2013 their slogan's gonna be, we haven't forgotten about you. You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that they have pushed Thunderbolt, or were briefly pushing Thunderbolt so hard and that was like, I mean, people last year at CES, like video editors were just dying over those demos of Thunderbolt in action, and it was a perfect time to introduce a new Mac Pro, a super powerful video editing machine. Like, if you're a photographer or you're doing lightweight video editing, I think honestly computer speeds are fast enough that whatever the new iMac is going to be fine for you.
Well, they own they own a lot of professional software, though. I mean, they own like Logic for music recording, which is like a huge success for them, and they own was it the
Final Cut Studio suite,
so
Motion.
It would make sense that they have high performance hardware to run that software on.
It would make sense.
I'm with you.
So we'll see what happens. Again, out of all the products here, I feel like the iMac is the most mysterious, and maybe that's the one that might actually surprise us. I'm just throwing it out there. Who knows?
I just want the old one.
You want the old one? The one that had the sunflower neck? You know, the white ones? That
Not
were
the
like
old one, just the most recent one.
Oh, okay.
Like, if they announce a new one now, then the last one's fine
Molly's
for me.
out there
It'll be
scooping up
cheaper.
the deals.
I'm a bargain hunter.
Bargain, Molly. All right,
They're
let's go to...
playing,
what song are they playing?
I was going to say, they're playing It's Time by Imagine Dragons, which I heart this song, so good job.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, they have nonstop great taste, just like me.
All right, can we take a call from Malone?
Yeah, please. We're 2 minutes away. Go for it.
All right, Malone, Northridge, California. What's up?
Hey, how are you guys?
Good.
My question was, I know that they have the iMacs, the MacBooks right now, with the Retina display, but I just think they're way overpriced compared to the regular ones. And I was wondering maybe if they're going to get rid of the regular displays altogether.
I think that we'll see the regular displays around for a while, because right now it's going to come down to eventually, once the Retina displays get down in cost to be priced around the same price as the current regular screens, that's when we'll see those regular screens disappear. You know, it's a good thing you brought up the Retina display, because one of the products that we're expecting to see here today is the MacBook Pro 13-inch Retina display that has been talked about for a while. This would not be a MacBook Air design, but the Pro design with a 13-inch screen. That's the Retina kind of form factor that we saw with the 15. But I think it comes down more to cost and just the cost of the technology for them. I don't think they'll get rid of the regular screens anytime soon, but I could be wrong, especially from a price standpoint. I don't know about you guys.
So you think they'll continue to actually manufacture new versions of a cheaper model, or that they'll just cycle out of the supply chain over time?
As the Retina display price point gets lower, then we will no longer see the regular kind of standard resolution Macs, because that's the future. That's clearly the blueprint of where they want to go. Okay, you know what? Forget about everything we just said. Hey, that's Surley Belcher. That's Surley.
Okay.
He used to be the Mac OS X line guy.
Oh, so Tim Cook is taking the stage. We will be able to, as I understand it, dip in and out of the Apple live stream.
Yeah, we won't
not just play the whole thing for you.
We won't. We'll come back to us and just break it up with our shots or our commentary, but we can listen for. We'll be good. We'll be good. Yeah. Yep. So let's hear what we have to say from Tim.
And we're going to create a few more today. We've got some really exciting things to show you. And I'd like to get started with a few updates, beginning with iPhone. iPhone 5 is off to a tremendous start. Customers love the stunning new design, the beautiful 4-inch Retina display, and the super fast A6 chip. We sold out the first weekend, selling more than 5 million units. This was fantastic. This is the most iPhones ever sold in the opening weekend, and the most phones ever sold in an opening weekend. The excitement was incredible. Customers could not wait to get their hands on the new iPhone. And of course, there is no better place to do that than in one of our amazing retail stores. To give you an idea of the kind of excitement we saw at the launch, we made a brief video, and I'd love to run it for you this morning.
Oh, our favorite.
Yeah,
That's
so
our
what
favorite
Apple's
video
doing
time.
is we can play this video while we talk, but Apple's just going to be showing off, you know, their kind of standard
propaganda,
promotional
Right.
Apple propaganda. The iPhone 5 is amazing.
Our stores are beautiful.
You'll never get a ding out of the box with an iPhone 5.
This does feel, now with all due respect, because I think Tim Cook is a nice man and a very competent executive, this does feel like a way to not have to have him talk so much.
Yeah.
Because he's not that awesome at the talking.
So,
And then the saddest thing of all is, look, that video looks just like the Samsung Galaxy S3 commercial where they make fun of all those people in line.
oh my goodness.
That video was so well done.
So what we have here, guys, is while we watch this keynote, we'll be dipping in and out to us and the keynote. We also want to let you know, stay on the phone lines because there's extended periods of time where there are these long app demos and even ads like this where we'd rather hear what you're thinking as this thing is going on. We might have to cut you off and jump back into the show, but we just want to let you know that we are here. We're not going to completely just say goodbye, phone people, because, you know, we like you guys.
And there will be lulls. And by lulls, I mean the parts where they do the demos and they show the boring videos and they talk about how many stores they've opened and they give the software update. And that would be a perfect time for us to take those calls.
Yeah, very nice.
Because you guys are way more interesting than that.
Okay, so we'll just dip back in this. Typically, these things are around like 30 seconds to a minute. Tim Cook is probably going to be up pretty shortly. But you know what? While we're watching this, they're talking all about the iPhone 5, right? Why don't you guys tweet us at hashtag CNET Live? Because I want to know are you guys actually happy with your iPhone 5? Some people are super stoked about it. Some people aren't very happy, but some people are like, yeah, you know, I use my phone pretty much exactly the same way. So I'm like, it's nice hardware. It's lighter. But what are the real pulse of what you guys think about the iPhone 5? Are you really happy with it for those of you that got it? Because I think it might be a mixed bag here. Molly's rolling her eyes, like I said. Mixed bag.
Hate's a little strong.
Hate is very strong.
I'd like to hear from you guys what you think about your iPhone 5s, if you have them.
I wouldn't have minded if they'd had a little extra battery life to go instead of the skinniness. The skinny thing is not that big a deal for me.
I wouldn't have minded heavier for battery life for sure.
Yeah. So just let us know when Tim Cook's back on stage and we'll pull it up.
Our teams work incredibly hard to deliver amazing products like iPhone 5, and seeing this type of customer response reminds us of why we absolutely love to do it. At the same time we announced iPhone 5 last month, we announced 2 new incredible iPods. An all-new incredible Nano with a 2.5-inch multi-touch screen and built-in Bluetooth, and an amazingly thin iPod Touch with the same 4-inch Retina display that we have on iPhone 5. These are off to a fantastic start. The reception has been fantastic. Here's what The Verge had to say. This year's iPod Touch is the best one ever. It's really a device without competition. Sales are going fantastic, and I'm pleased to tell you that together with the rest of the new iPod lineup, we've already sold over 3 million units. We're really happy to be shipping the new iPod.
Just one thing to mention. Notice he used a quote about the iPod Touch, but not the iPhone. Kind of subtle because the iPhone had mixed reviews and more criticisms. The iPod Touch, a device pretty much unscathed by criticism, solid quality. So I find that a little interesting. Just a note. Just a note. All right, we'll go back.
Also,
oh, go ahead. Bite. Don't. No, come on.
No, I'm just kidding.
Come on.
What?
Upgradable to the latest operating system. And I'm pleased to tell you that in just after 1 month, we have 200 million devices running iOS 6. This is phenomenal. This is the fastest upgrade rate of any software in history that we're aware of. Now, iOS 6 and Mountain Lion have been designed to make Macs and iOS devices work together simply and seamlessly. And over the past year, we've announced some great new features that make your life easier. Features like documents in the cloud. You can do some amazing work on Pages, Keynote, or other applications on one device, and then pick up right where you left off on any of your other devices. Customers have now placed 125 million documents in the cloud just over the last year, making them available to all of their devices. And features like iMessage. iMessage, of course, is the best way to send anyone a message on a Mac or iPod Touch or iPhone or iPad.
It's also the only way.
You can see all of your messages on
Also,
all of your devices.
Even if it's the only way, that's still
and you can
debatable.
start a conversation on one
absolutely.
device and continue
I feel like
it on
Tim,
any
by the
of
way,
your
he's
other
working
devices.
really hard right now.
Already,
Don't you think
in
to sell
just
this? I mean, you
the
can really. I
last
just
year,
not in it. I'm not saying
customers
this to be
have
negative.
sent
I feel like he is really.
300 billion
He's worked on his salesmanship here.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to really.
He is inflecting the hell out of this.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. There's only so much you can do to make iMessage sound sexy.
No, I know totally.
iMessage.
Chat room, by the way, points out 125 million. Not that much. Documents wise, that they could never find again. Ooh, he had a laugh line. Let's go back.
It's the best way to play games with a friend on a Mac or an iOS device. We now have over 160 million game players, so they can compare scores or compete against anyone with an iOS device or a Mac. And finally, shared photo streams. This is the best way to share just the photos you want with just the people you want. This launched with iOS 6 just 1 month ago, and customers have already shared over 70 million photos with their friends and family. So you can see that there is some great ways for your iOS devices and your Macs to work together seamlessly.
Hasn't talked about maps yet.
Now on to the App Store. Last month, we
so weird. I
told you
wonder
that
if
we
he's gonna
have
mention
over
that.
700,000
You think he's going to talk about maps, guys? I don't
apps
know.
in our
We'll
App
see.
Store.
We'll see.
This number has continued to grow.
I think he will. I think he's going to
And
face
we also
it.
now have 275,000 iPad apps. This number is also growing. These apps are not stretched out smartphone apps. These are apps that have been custom designed to take advantage of iPad's big, beautiful canvas.
They're abs of steel.
And customers absolutely love the selection in the App Store. And we've reached another milestone. Customers have now downloaded 35 billion apps from the store. This is jaw-dropping. The App Store continues to exceed our expectations. Now,
All right, guys. We know that Tim Cook is working on his superlatives right now, so we will continue to hear what he has to say. Always the intro is kind of like
The intro is the painful
okay.
part. Like, get to the good stuff.
But we'll keep on writing with it. It's the live stream. You guys want to see it, obviously. If I
Right.
think so. We'll go back to it. We're just
Yeah,
hanging
we're
with
not
you.
going to be annoying all the way through.
and their passion. Now, one of the most popular apps on the store is iBooks. iBooks, of course, makes it a pleasure to read on any of your iOS devices. It includes an elegant bookshelf where you can put literally hundreds of books and carry them with you anywhere you go. And just one tap, and the bookshelf flips to reveal the iBook store, where you'll find bestsellers, gorgeous full-color picture books, and multi-touch books. We now have over 1.5 million books on the bookstore. And these cover every kind of subject you could ever think of. Customers have now downloaded 400 million of them since the inception of the store. If you open one of the books, you'll find gorgeous pages. And iBooks includes reading options like this beautiful sepia thing.
So right now he's talking.
Or
We can
this
leave the video
night
up here and
thing,
just take
makes
his
it
volume down a little
really
bit. But
easy on the eye
the reality is that the iBooks, when he's talking about these big numbers, I mean, they don't compare to what the Kindle is doing because it's on multiple platforms. I mean, really, the only proposition I've tried to use iBooks. Yeah, it's okay. It's a color screen and everything. Is the page turning thing is the coolest thing about iBooks. When you can use a book on multiple platforms on different devices, like it's not even close. I think he might be painting this picture to set up a rumored new release of an update to the iBooks.
I think actually all of the points he's hitting on so far address the competition that we're looking at. We're talking about Windows 8 with integration between like a mobile OS and a desktop OS. We're talking about the Kindle Fire and its ability to have downloaded book content and be an effective ebook reader. You know, if talking about documents in the cloud with Google Docs and Google Tablets. So he's laying out all the ways that they're trying to measure up to all the perceived competition.
Well, and he's setting this up as a Kindle competitor, which I think is why he's spending so much time on iBooks, because let's be honest, like, this ain't popular or interesting.
No.
But he's spending a lot of time on it because they're about to introduce a competitor to the Kindle Fire.
Yeah, and arguably it is popular because Apple always has it on the front door of their App Store because it's their product.
I honestly
it's popular because it's pre-installed on every freaking device you buy.
I honestly
Those
really
stocks.
want to hear about the Chinese characters. All right, we'll go back. We'll go back to him. Enough of us. We'll go back to him.
The new version of iBooks is available today. It's a free download. It's in the App Store, and I would encourage you to
seriously
get
just
it.
yell out
It's really
cool?
fantastic.
Someone
I think
did.
You're going to love it.
You're going to love it.
Now, I'd like to talk about the Mac. We've seen some incredible momentum with the Mac. For the year ending in June, the Mac outgrew the PC market by about 7 times. And it's not just the last year. In fact, the Mac has been outgrowing the PC market for the last 6 years straight. And a key reason for this is the Mac is consistently named #1 in customer satisfaction and reliability. And this is pretty much by all of the entities that rank this sort of thing. And this has led to the Mac being the #1 desktop in the US and the #1 notebook in the US. It's just absolutely incredible. Now, we're really pleased with all of the momentum with the Mac, but we are not standing still. We're going to continue innovating with the Mac, and we've got some really great stuff to show you this morning. And to do that, I'd like to invite Phil Schiller up to take you through it. Phil?
All right, guys, rumored devices here, hardware, iMacs, MacBook Pros. We saw an image of that, so we'll just go back and see what they have to say about this new hardware. That's what we came to see. There's Scott Forstall in the very front.
Well, I'm really excited because today is a very big day for the Mac. And it starts with MacBook. We have a great lineup of notebook computers called MacBook. And just a few months ago, we introduced perhaps the best we have ever created, the 15-inch MacBook Pro with a Retina display. And everyone has fallen in love with it. And Gadget wrote, "The new display is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous." The Verge, best display ever.
Walt
for a
Mossberg
laptop.
is throwing a hissy fit right
Wired.
now.
He is so mad.
Apple has undoubtedly created the best notebook display in the market. And they're all correct. It is the best display housed in the best notebook design we have ever made.
Bill, you charming devil.
But you might not know that our #1 selling notebook is actually the 13-inch MacBook Pro. In fact, it's our #1 selling Mac. And customers love it because of its combination of power and small size. It's just perfect for so many uses. It truly is a great computer. So in typical Apple fashion, we're going to take our best product and we're going to introduce something so much better, so much cooler, more capable, and I'm really excited to show you for the first time the brand new 13-inch MacBook Pro.
Boom, there it is, guys.
Our first new hardware of the day. And it's a good one.
Yeah, it's solid.
It is incredibly thin, just 0.75 inches thin. Let's put that side by side with the previous generation. You can see there's a huge difference. It's 20% thinner, a full 1/5 thinner. But even more impressive, it weighs just over 3.5 pounds. That's almost a full pound lighter than the previous generation. It also makes it our lightest MacBook Pro ever. And here it is on the side. Look how thin that is. Beautiful thin base, thin display, and all the I/O our Pro customers need. On the left-hand side, there's MagSafe 2, 2 Thunderbolt ports, a USB 3 port, headphone, and dual microphones. On the right-hand side, as with the 15-inch, we removed the optical drive, and now we have room for an SD card reader, HDMI video out, and a second USB 3 port. Here it is on the other side, equally beautiful from both sides. Best of all, it has a Retina display. That is a display where the pixels are so small that at a normal working distance, your eye can't discern them. And everything on it looks absolutely gorgeous. It measures 13.3 inches on the diagonal. For pixels, it's an amazing 2,560 by 1,600. That is 4 times the number of pixels of the previous generation. And if you've done the math, I'm sure some of you have, that's 4,096,000 pixels. That makes it the world's second highest resolution notebook computer. Yes, our 15-inch is the first, but think about that. This 13-inch notebook has more pixels than any competitive 15 or even 17-inch notebook. It is amazing. Looked at another way, many of us have HD TVs now, 1920 by 1080, and here's the new 13-inch MacBook Pro alongside it, showing the same image, but let's overlap those images. You can see the 13-inch MacBook Pro's Retina display displays almost twice as many pixels, almost 2 million more pixels than an HD TV. It is a
so guys,
display.
this has always been that
In
whole
many
like,
other ways
oh, the
as
computer
well.
is such a higher resolution than your TV. It always has.
It's
It always
always
has. That's why when in the past, like 10 years ago, when you even tried to plug in your computer, you'd be like, oh, it's always has.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, these displays are really nice. You're just going to have to ask yourself if they're $500 more nice, or however much the premium is.
Yeah, the rumored price is $16.99, so we'll see. Let's go check it out.
Yeah.
So reading email, the text is so beautiful you can't see the pixels. Surfing the web can be like a fine print magazine. Using iWork applications like Keynote, your slides look absolutely gorgeous. iLife applications are great too. When you use iMovie, the small thumbnails of video are even stunning and sharp. And especially pro applications like our Aperture photo application for pros. You now have access to 4 million pixels for native photo resolution. There's never been a small notebook that gave pro photographers this kind of technology and capability. And if you're looking for more apps that all support our new Retina displays, just go to our Mac App Store. You're going to find plenty more there now. There's productivity apps like Evernote and OmniGraffle. There's creative applications like Pixelmator and Sketchbook Pro, and even games like Civilization 5 and Real Racing 2. There's a lot of great software now to support the Retina display. So that alone is an amazing new feature on the new MacBook Pro. But there's a lot more. There's a FaceTime HD camera with 720 video recording, dual microphones, stereo speakers.
So guys, for those of you who are watching along with this, we're starting to hear about the specs. We have on our live poll below a poll that's asking you, is this what you've been waiting for? So while this continues on, we want you guys to vote and find out what you think about this new MacBook Pro Retina, what you've seen so far. Obviously, when the price point comes out, you'll be able to kind of make your final distinction, but we want to know what you guys think about this MacBook Pro Retina so far.
Especially, in fact, I'm asking my pro photographer friend who just sent me a note and said, I want a 17-inch, please.
Yeah.
Is a 13-inch laptop great for you as a pro photographer, like Phil just said?
Probably not.
I'm leaning toward no.
All right, we'll go back to the stream, guys.
Such a small design. Let me highlight some of the features. It's pretty incredible. You have Intel dual-core i5 or i7 Ivy Bridge processors, Intel HD graphics 4000, much faster graphics, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, standard 8 gigabytes of memory, up to 768 gigabytes of flash. It's all flash-based for storage. And of course, now up to 7 hours of battery life in such a thin, light product. It is a fantastic computer. And it ships with OS X Mountain Lion, and Mountain Lion has many great features that take advantage of this technology and are perfect for our notebook users. So, for example, built-in voice dictation. So anywhere you can type, you can also speak, and with dual microphones, that works even better. And of course, over Wi-Fi, we have AirPlay. So if you have Apple TV hooked up to your TV set, you can put your photos, your movies, your presentations up there for everyone to see. Documents in the cloud, so you can work on your iWork documents on your MacBook Pro and access them wherever you are on your iPad or even your iPhone. And probably the coolest feature, Power Nap. With Power Nap, while your notebook is asleep, it can automatically update your contacts, your calendar.
Someone
your
made their own
email,
bed for the
your
MacBook.
photo stream,
Take a nap.
download software
So
updates,
cute.
even
It's
back
like
up
a
to a
pet.
time capsule. So this is a great new MacBook Pro, and it starts with a 2.5 gigahertz dual-core i5, 8 gigs of memory, and 128 gigabytes of flash for just $16.99.
$16.99 was the magic number that people have been talking about.
Now, the 15-inch MacBook Pro with Retina display has been a big hit, and this is $500 less expensive, so customers are going to really appreciate that. And it starts shipping today.
Ooh!
And like all of our products, the team works very, very hard on making these environmentally friendly. So we have a checklist, and I like to show that with our products. It's Energy Star 5.2, EPEAT Gold, arsenic-free display glass, mercury-free display, BFR-free, PVC-free, and of course, the high-grade aluminum and glass are highly recyclable. So this is a great new MacBook Pro, and we're so excited to show it to our customers, we've even created an ad. So let's run that
Of course
ad.
you have. You know what? I am thrilled to see, even though I just made a snotty comment, I am thrilled to see them do that, to really embrace being green and point out the parts of that laptop that are environmentally friendly, because they, of all people, of all companies, encourage people to upgrade often. So the fact that these devices are both recyclable and clean in the manufacturing is, in fact, something to highlight, and I'm glad that they're doing that.
Well, one thing that's interesting is
My
that
earnest moment.
with the 15-inch Retina display, they had that whole little controversy where they removed a lot of their products from the green list.
Yep.
And then the 15-inch Retina specifically was after the backlash, they put their products back on. The 15-inch specifically, because all the batteries were glued in, was still off that list. They recently put it back on just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Retina display joins the 15 as the only two notebooks in the industry with Retina display quality. And it's powerful and super thin and light, and customers are really going to love it. And here's our notebook lineup. We have MacBook Air starting at $999. For those who still want it, we keep the old generation there. MacBook Pro at $1199. And the new MacBook Pros with their Retina displays starting at $1699. Of course, you know there are multiple screen sizes on each and a few configurations. So if you're curious, here are the standard channel configurations for all of our MacBooks. And of course, there's a wide range here and something for nearly everyone. So that updates our MacBook lineup, and it is the best line of portables we have ever offered. Next, Mac Mini.
Hey.
You knew there'd be something called Mini in this presentation, didn't you?
Good
Hell,
one.
you devil.
All right, you don't have to
Mac
clap
Mini
that long.
is our smallest, most affordable Mac.
Come on,
It wasn't the
And if you haven't
funniest
looked at
joke
one
ever.
lately, it's packed with a lot of great features. Gigabit Ethernet, FireWire 800, HDMI video out, Thunderbolt, USB, now upgraded to USB 3, 4 of them, SD card reader, and audio in and out. But the action in this product and the update is on the inside, so let's turn it over. And it's very accessible. You just take the bottom cover right off, and here's the inside. It's a beautiful, simple, small design. What's inside? Dual or quad Intel Core i5 or i7 Ivy Bridge processors, Intel HD Graphics 4000, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, up to 16 gigabytes of memory, and up to a terabyte hard drive or 256 gigs of flash. There are a number of configurations. It starts with a 2.5 gigahertz dual-core i5, 4 gigs of memory, and a half a terabyte hard drive for just $599. There are other configurations, and a lot of our customers actually like to get it as a server to run OS X applications for server uses. And so we have a 2.3 gigahertz quad-core i7, 4 gigs of memory, and 2 1 terabyte hard drives, and OS X server applications preloaded for $999. And these all start shipping today. And equally environmentally friendly as well. Energy Star 5.2, EPEAT Gold, BFR-free,
So just a
PVC-free,
quick
and
note,
highly
he's talking about the environmental, how it's supported on the Mac Mini. Just a quick thing from our poll for the MacBook 13 Retina Pro. 61% of our respondents said they love it, but it's too pricey. 20% said you'll have to pry my Ultrabook for my cold, dead fingers. And 19% said it's already in my shopping cart. So the majority of you that are watching this, at least with the Retina MacBook Pro 13, think it's still a little too pricey for that. So interesting.
That's that's what our chat room is saying as well,
the number
and
one
Twitter.
desktop model in the U.S. And for good reason.
Talking
it is
iMac.
A great design, evolved over many years. In fact, many think of it as the flagship of the Mac product line. You may remember it all started back in 1998. Yes, with the Bondi Blue iMac. In fact, this really relaunched all of our products, the way we make products, how innovative they are, how incredible the designs are. And it also epitomizes something that Apple does so well, to create a breakthrough innovative product, and then through the years, relentlessly keep updating it with the latest technology to push it as far as the technology allows. We've had 7 generations of iMac, each one better than the last. So that's why it's so great today for you to be the first to see the next generation of iMac. And here it is.
It must be raising from somewhere, and that's a... It's a sword. Ooh, look at how thin that thing is. Look at that. Are they for real? Look at that. Look at that thing. That's like a tablet thickness right there.
It is absolutely beautiful.
I'm sorry, but damn! I'm sorry, that's hot.
It's not going to make you a sandwich,
I love to wait for the moment when Tong turns. Then he's just like, I'm in. This is the moment. He's in.
Stunning from every side, edge-to-edge glass, that amazingly thin edge. Would you like to see one in person? I hope so, because we have one right here.
I would. It's so cool. Yeah! Oh my God, you guys, it's so
All right, I'm going to calm down, guys. Let's be journalists here.
So this is the brand new iMac. It is absolutely incredible, the most beautiful Mac we have ever made. If you want to get a look at how thin it is.
That's still a pretty big bezel, I'm just
turn
saying.
it just a little bit.
Molly Wood.
Look at that edge. Just
One
remarkable how
edge-to-edge display.
thin that design is.
It's actually deeper than the lighting allows you to see it. Probably looks like half, I don't know, is it half an inch maybe?
It's a pretty big bezel.
It's still
There's
awesome.
an entire computer in here. It's hard to believe there's even just a display in
I'm
here.
okay with the bezel. That's a hot design, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's super pretty.
All right, let me tell you a lot more about it.
I know, he did. He had a moment, right? He was like,
That
oh, God.
edge is 5 millimeters thin. That is 80% thinner than the previous generation. And it extends the entire length. All the way down to this area at the bottom. We lovingly call this the chin. Now, this enclosure is made of 2 parts, that chin and that entire big aluminum back. And they're put together previously with some advanced laser welding. But this is so thin, we wanted to do something even more incredible. The engineering team used a technology, you may not have heard of it, called friction stir welding. This is unbelievable. The actual molecules of the aluminum are merged together between the 2 components to make one piece that are super strong and nearly seamless.
It can't just be like thin.
The lengths they will go to create these products is astounding. But how did we make it that thin? Well, to explain it, let me bring back up the previous generation. Isn't it amazing how something new makes the previous thing instantly look old?
That's
it's incredible.
disgusting.
Well, let's look
Dated
inside.
caveman
and take it apart
technology.
a bit.
Kill it. Burn it.
One quick thing while he's breaking this
first thing
down.
the team did was engineer
This
an
new iMac
entirely new display
looks like it does not have a optical drive.
I did notice that,
It's probably going to be a solid-state drive. It's so thin that even on their main desktop consumer line, you know, they've been pushing it out for a while, but it looks like there's no optical drive on here.
If you're not going to make, like, Mac Pros, then put an optical drive in the one desktop that you are continuing to make.
What's also curious, though, is like the iMac is a family machine. We'll go back to the stream real quick. People, they've been pushing it that you make DVDs, family DVDs with this, and there's no drive on it. That's a little curious. I'm just saying. So
no, it's disappointing.
We'll go back.
I'm going to get that old ugly turd. I will.
Then we remove the optical drive and completely re-engineer all the internal components to make something this amazingly thin. Let's talk a little bit more about this display. The display comes in two sizes, 21.5 inch and 27 inch. The 27 inch is 2560 by 1440. The 21.5 inch, 1920 by 1080. They're both IPS panels for a beautiful viewing angle, and at full brightness over 300 nits, so beautifully bright. And we said that's fully laminated. Besides making it thin, the full lamination delivers another benefit. When you look at it, the text and graphics will look like they're sitting right on top of the glass because they're right that close, and it improves the optical quality. And then we also apply an anti-reflective coating to the display, but we wanted to make it even purer, even thinner, even higher quality image quality. And we use a new technology for us called plasma deposition. You can go home and tell people, today I heard about plasma deposition. It allows us to apply the anti-reflective coating down to a nanometer thickness. And the combination of all this hard work is really simple. Customers are going to appreciate that it's 75% less reflection than the previous generation. That's a really big deal. And to top it off, these displays are beautiful. They're each individually calibrated on the manufacturing line with a spectroradiometer. It is very, very cool.
It's pretty awesome because
some of the other
every time he
features,
says something like the stir makes aluminum or that whatever, like the chat room goes crazy because they're actually like engineers and stuff. They're like, that's what he just got totally wrong. That's what he's just saying technical words.
Well, it's interesting that, you know, Apple started the whole idea of like, we're going to tell you about how these products are crafted, and they come up with these like, you know, terms, and you've seen other companies kind of follow that, and then it almost felt like Apple here is going overdrive with the terms, right? Like, telling us about the lamination process, about the friction stir welding. It's like, okay.
But kind of in a way where it doesn't really make sense. It's like, look, it doesn't have to be unicorn every time. Like, you don't have to act like this is unbelievable technology.
Corinthian
leather.
If you
gave me any, right.
Fine Corinthian leather used on every iMac.
Centauri time.
All right, we'll go back to the stream, guys.
Up to 768 gigabytes of flash or up to 3 terabyte hard drive. And up to 32 gigabytes of memory. That's twice as much as before. So much work has gone into fitting all of that inside a computer this thin. In terms of I/O, a headphone port, SD card reader, 4 USB 3 ports, 2 Thunderbolt, and gigabit Ethernet. I want to talk about storage just a little bit more. As I said, customers can choose a hard drive if they want, and many customers do because they want the maximum capacity. Others choose flash because that gives you maximum performance. In many cases, up to 3 to 4 times faster at key tasks. Well, with the iMac, as well as the Mac Mini we just discussed, we have a new third option for you to choose. It's called the Apple Fusion Drive. What's the Fusion Drive?
It's
well,
that thing
first,
from Anathem.
It's 128 gigabytes of flash storage. And added to that, your choice, either 1 or 3 terabyte hard drive. And in software, they're fused together into one logical volume. We do this so you can get much faster reads and writes than a hard drive can. But best of all, it's built into OS X Mountain Lion. So it's automatic. There's nothing to set up, nothing to manage, nothing to do. It just works. So how does it work? Well, when you order your iMac, if you choose the Fusion Drive, you get it, and there's one drive made up of both flash and the hard drive. Of course, the operating system entirely fits on that flash, so we keep it there for maximum system performance. In fact, all the software that comes pre-installed on your iMac automatically fits in flash. And then as you load up applications and documents or migrate them from a previous computer, we'll fill up all the space and use the storage you have. And then automatically, as you're using your computer, OS X's Fusion Drive is figuring out what you use the most and what will benefit from being on flash. So for example, if you don't use iMovie very often, but you use a lot of high-powered numbers spreadsheets, it might move those onto flash. Or perhaps you use Aperture, not iPhoto. Well, it'll move Aperture into flash and run it from there as well. All transparently from you. You just use it, it works. And so how does it perform? Well, using that aperture example, one common task in aperture is to import photos. If you use a hard drive, you get a certain speed, and flash is over 3.5 times faster at this task. So how does the Fusion drive compare? Here's how it compares. You get near the performance of flash with access to all of that storage without having to do anything else.
I do have to point out that Apple is not inventing a new hard drive technology. Like hybrid, solid state drives have been around for a while now.
I just tweeted that Apple's going with a theory that any sufficiently specific technical term is indistinguishable from magic.
Many customers also choose a wireless Magic trackpad as well. And for those who still are stuck in the past, yes, you can get an optical drive. We offer a great super drive that plugs into USB.
Burn your users there, buddy.
There's a 21.5-inch Mac that starts at a 2.7 gigahertz quad-core i5, 8 gigs of memory, a GeForce GT 640M, that's a Kepler part, and a terabyte hard drive for just $12.99.
Wow, that's pretty low.
$12.99 is a pretty good price for that machine.
Oh yeah.
Of course, you can make other configurations if you'd like, and these start shipping next month in November.
What?
The 27-inch iMac begins with a 2.9 gigahertz quad-core i5, 8 gigs of memory, GeForce GTX 660M, a terabyte hard drive for $17.99. And these start shipping. We start shipping about a month later in December. And again, like all of our computers,
okay, guys, just a quick thing. If we go to our live
friendly,
poll, what you guys think about this new iMac, we asked you, what do you think? 32% said already pulled out my credit card. 24% said it's been almost 2 years, they should have done more. 9% said it's not thin enough. 34%, which leads all respondents, says desktops are dead to me.
Really?
So a mix between I'm going to buy it and desktops are dead to me are the two leading groups.
Interesting.
That completes our announcement for Mac. I'd like to turn it back to Tim.
All right, back to Tim. Maybe it's iPad time.
These products are really cool. Next, I'd like to talk about iPad. Now, it seems like each time we get together, there's a new number or a new statistic to illustrate the growth and momentum of this product.
I'll say.
And today, I'm thrilled to tell you that 2 weeks ago, we sold our 100th million iPad. That's 100 million in just 2.5 years. This is unprecedented for a new product in a new category. Now, to put this in some perspective, we sold more iPads in the June quarter than any PC manufacturer sold of their entire PC lineup. Now, this has attracted a fair amount of attention. And it seems like every day there's another tablet shipping. But when you look at the ones that are really being used, the numbers tell a different story. iPad accounts for over 90% of the web traffic from tablets. And we know that this is the thing that people do most often on a tablet. Now, you might ask, so why is iPad so phenomenally successful? Well, it turns out that there's a simple reason for this. People love their iPads. They love the big, beautiful multi-touch display, the fast, fluid responsiveness of iPad's hardware and software working together. They love the front camera that's absolutely perfect for FaceTime, and the rear eyesight camera that takes great photos and great HD video. They love that they can connect anywhere they go using either Wi-Fi or cellular. They love iPad's legendary all-day battery life. And they love all of the amazing apps that have been optimized for iPad to help them work, play, create, and learn. One of the things that is so rewarding and so amazing to us is how quickly iPad has been embraced in education. Administrators, teachers, and students around the world have found iPad to be an incredible learning tool. Here's an example of what we're hearing. This is from a superintendent of a school district in Texas. He says, the iPad has been a real game changer in education. No technology has impacted the way teachers teach and students learn more quickly and more profoundly. With iPad, the possibilities are endless. We really believe this. And we saw this early on. Earlier this year, we announced iBooks Author to make it easy and simple to create rich, engaging, multi-touch textbooks. iBooks textbooks reinvent the textbooks with gorgeous full-screen layouts, interactive diagrams, photos, and videos. In fact, iBooks textbooks are now available for 80% of the U.S. high school core curricula. And these are rich, engaging textbooks on a variety of subjects, from the sciences to mathematics and history. These are enough to make you want to be a kid again. iBooks textbooks, our textbooks created with iBooks Author are now in over 2,500 schools in the U.S.
Just a quick thing for people watching this. When people clap, a lot of them are actually Apple employees, not the journalists on site. We just want to make that clear because everyone goes, why do people clap so much?
I know these journalists shouldn't be, although some of them probably are journalists, but...
True. But the majority are Apple plant
employees. And they put
employees.
them toward the front, so it picks up the mic really well.
Now, today, we're announcing
there you go.
The latest version of iBooks Author. And it includes some incredibly new Apple templates, like this one that's a portrait-only template. Publishers can now take their own fonts and use them to provide a more custom look of their books. And beginning also today, publishers can directly insert these beautifully rendered mathematical expressions directly into their books. This is actually very big. We're also announcing multi-touch widgets to provide even more options for interactivity. And publishers can now easily update their books. This is especially key in education, where it's very important that students have access to the latest version of their textbooks. iBooks Author is available today as a free download, and it's available on the Mac App Store. I would encourage everyone to check it out. Now, in addition to education, iPad is taking the business market by storm. In the office, in the field, and in places you could never dream of seeing a PC, iPad is showing up more and more and doing more and more things. In fact, almost every company in the Fortune 500 is now testing or deploying iPad.
While he talked about
And
business
we're seeing
for a
a
second,
similar success
I really do think that Author announcement will turn out to be a big thing. There was a lot of talk about Apple wanting to revolutionize the textbook market, and this, even though it's a small announcement buried in a sea of other interesting things, is actually a big step in that direction. So pretty significant.
How quickly iPad has been embraced by so many users for so many different things. But we know we are just getting started. Earlier this year, we announced an iPad with a beautiful Retina display. And this iPad has gone on to be the fastest-selling iPad of all time and the top-selling tablet in the world. But we're not taking our foot off the gas. We've got some really cool stuff to show you. And to do that, I'd like to invite Phil back up to the stage.
Yeah.
Phil?
What do you guys think it's going to be?
I don't know, probably like iPad.
Wonder what they're going to call it. They may not call it. I don't know. I don't think they're going to call it Mini.
Really?
So just half a year ago, we introduced the third generation iPad with its Retina display, and it's remarkable. So that's why it's more incredible that we're sitting here today, just over half a year later, to talk about the fourth generation iPad. It's amazing. The pace the team is at, the pedal to the metal engineering attitude, it's just so thrilling. And this fourth generation iPad, it is a powerhouse. So what's inside it? A new chip, the Apple A6X chip, delivering even faster performance. We were already so far ahead of the competition, this just, I can't even see them in the rearview mirror. It doubles the performance for CPU tasks. That is a huge jump ahead.
Is there also an all-new?
It also doubles the graphics performance. They were not close to us, and now we've doubled that again. In addition, we've added a new generation of Apple image signal processor for tasks like face recognition and image stabilization. So all of this power, 2 times CPU power, 2 times graphics power, new image processing, and it's energy efficient. The same 10 hours of battery life of the previous generation. We're also updating the FaceTime front side camera to now FaceTime HD with 720p. And the cellular version has LTE with greatly expanded coverage. We're working with many carriers around the world to support LTE performance on this new fourth generation iPad. Many of the carriers you know, and some new ones to support iPad, like Sprint here in the US and KDDI in Japan. We've also updated the Wi-Fi performance as well. It's up to twice as fast. It's 802.11a, B, G, N, and N is 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. We've updated the connector to our latest connector, the Lightning connector. It's 80% smaller, all digital, reversible, and compatible with devices now being created for iPhone 5, iPod Touch, iPod Nano. We've added some new cables as well. For customers who want camera connections, we have Lightning to USB and Lightning to an SD card reader. For video out, there's Lightning to HDMI and Lightning to VGA. And all of this technology and performance is, of course, based on a system with this breakthrough new Retina display, for which there's nothing as beautiful in the market. The fourth generation iPad comes in both black and white, and it starts with the same configuration as the last generation, 16 gigabytes, Wi-Fi for $499. So twice the performance, new features at the same price.
While they're clapping, this is really, you know, we talked about seeing a potential 4th gen iPad, but the fact that it's faster,
I'm sorry, it's
the hardware is faster, 6 months after, that's pretty wild.
6 months later.
It's like iPod photo versus iPod video.
Yeah.
Tablet in the world, the fourth generation just extends that lead. And it's all about helping customers to learn about this great new technology and find new ways to use it that they never dreamed of. So what else can we do to help customers find even more uses for iPad, to use it in places they never imagined, in manners they never have before?
Oh, here we go.
Yes.
And people are taking pictures with their iPad in the crowd. It's a real thing, guys. I hate it. There's one.
I think we can tell by your excitement you know what this is. This is iPad Mini.
It is iPad Mini.
And, And what can you do with an iPad mini that you can't already do with the amazing 4th generation iPad? Well, this. You can hold it in one hand. Now, this just isn't a shrunken down iPad. It's an entirely new design with a beautiful aluminum and glass enclosure where every detail is finely crafted and made, just exquisite. And the process by which they're manufactured are at a level of tolerances unseen in our industry. There is nothing as amazing as this. This incredibly thin and beautiful iPad mini. Beautiful from every angle, incredibly thin and light. Would you like to see one in person?
The leaks were right on the money with the form factor on this. I mean, they were exactly what we're seeing. So
even some of the videos that
This
purportedly
is
showed in the wild,
iPad.
like that was it. Yeah.
How thin that is. Amazing. Here, let me tell you a lot more about it. So this iPad mini is just 7.2 millimeters thin. That's about a quarter thinner than the 4th generation iPad. To put it in context, it's as thin as a pencil. That's thin. It weighs just 0.68 pounds. That's over 50% lighter than the previous iPad, 4th generation. So in context, what can you compare that to? It's as light as a pad of paper. We were going to say a book, but books are much heavier. So we came out with a pad of paper. It comes in black and white, the white with silver, the black with a slate back. It's beautiful on both sides. I think one of the biggest questions people wonder is, what screen size did we pick and why? And the team worked really hard thinking about this.
Yes, it looks
We
bigger
want an
than 7 inches
iPad
to me.
that's capable of running all that amazing
4x3.
software written for iPad without developers having to do any work. We want it to be smaller such that it could be thinner and lighter, as you can see, but not so small that it stops being incredibly usable, because the iPad is the most usable of all these devices. So let's look at it side by side. Here's current iPad 2 next to the iPad mini. The iPad 2 is 9.7 inches on the diagonal, iPad mini 7.9. So that's easy to remember, right? 9.7, 7.9. And the pixels are even easier to remember because they're exactly the same. The original iPad, the iPad 2 are 1024 by 768. And the new iPad mini is 1024 by 768. That means all of the software created for iPad all works on the iPad mini, unchanged. And it's great to use in both the portrait and landscape position, which our customers love to use it in both manners. So it's great for reading your email and responding to your email and surfing the web. It's great for managing all your photos and sharing them with friends and family. It's fantastic for kicking back and reading a magazine or a book on. It is amazing to sit there and hold it and do a FaceTime HD phone call on something so thin and light. It's great for all of your iWork applications, Keynote, Pages, Numbers. It's fantastic for all the iLife applications, iPhoto, iMovie, GarageBand. I mean, it is so much fun to sit there and play multi-touch software instruments in GarageBand on this thin and light iPad. And all of those applications work wonderfully on it. So if you're a customer who likes to use Facebook all day long, you're going to love using Facebook on the new iPad. If you love creating content with applications like Paper, an amazing drawing application, you're going to love doing that on iPad mini. If you love playing games, playing incredibly amazing games like Real Racing 2 are incredible on the new iPad. In fact, I could sit here and do 275,000 examples for you, and I would love to, but we don't have enough time.
Please don't.
They work amazing on iPad mini.
It's surprising that
no
it's
one
not
else can say that
16:9
with
when the
their
new iPhone
tablets.
is.
In fact, others have tried to make tablets small on the iPad, and they've failed miserably.
People are not
These are
impressed
not
with the
great
resolution on
experiences. Well, why? Let me give you an example. So here we have iPad mini on the right and an Android tablet on the left. This is the latest, greatest, most favored, reviewed new device. So let's
Today.
compare them. Well, first, let's just look at the bezels around the display. Ours, the iPad mini, is made of aluminum, and we've worked hard to make it thin so it's comfortable to hold and use with one hand. Theirs, made of plastic, it's thicker. In fact, the entire product, that Android product, is thicker and heavier than iPad mini, even though it has a smaller display. So let's look at those displays. On the diagonal, theirs is 7 inches. The iPad mini is 7.9. That doesn't sound like a lot more, does it? Well, that's on the diagonal. The actual area of the display, 21.9 square inches for the Android tablet, 29.6 for the iPad mini. The iPad mini is actually over a third larger display area, 35%. That's a huge difference. And it doesn't stop there. What's the number one thing people do on their iPads? Surf the web. We love to surf the web on our iPads. So here's surfing the web. This is a popular museum, the Guggenheim Museum, and visiting it in both browsers. But you can see there's things around the browser. There's tabs. Android has some software controls on the bottom of the display. So let's remove all that noise and just look at the web pages. You can see a huge difference. The iPad mini is about 50% larger for surfing the web, holding it in your portrait orientation. That is a gigantic difference. Yet the iPad mini is thinner and lighter. As I said, many customers also like to use it in the landscape orientation. So let's turn them sideways. Let's remove all the noise around it. Here's your web pages. The iPad mini is 2/3 larger to surf the web. There is a gigantic difference in these products. And it doesn't stop there. There's all those third-party applications. As Tim told you, we have these amazing applications for iPad users. And we've learned, we have over 700,000 applications that can run an iPad, but customers love the ones written for iPad, designed for that screen. Over 275,000 of them. What does the other platform have? They have phone applications stretched up, not tablet applications. So for example, if you like to hang with your friends in Yelp, you get a great experience on iPad mini, you get a scaled-up phone experience on that other product. There's a big difference. If you like to shop on eBay, a huge difference between what you can do on an iPad and on these other products. If you like to listen to music in Pandora, the differences are night and day. If you like to go search for videos to watch in Vimeo, a great experience, a not great experience. If you like to plan your trip on TripAdvisor.
Note how he can't even say
incredible
YouTube,
experience on iPad
by the way.
mini.
That's a little.
Well, you know, right?
Because of the big, huge fight with Google.
We'll talk more about this
we go
comparison.
on
We'll
and
let him
on.
finish it out.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll let him finish it out.
So let's talk a little bit more about what's inside iPad mini. It is a great iPad. In fact, the technologies inside are equal to or better than the iPad 2 in every way. There's an amazing set of technology that make this just a great iPad. First, there's an Apple A5 chip, a dual-core A5 chip that has more than enough power to drive this incredible mini display and give you great performance for all your applications and games. It has a FaceTime camera, now better than what we had in iPad 2, a FaceTime HD front-side camera. An even bigger difference on the camera on the back side, a 5-megapixel iSight camera, so you can take beautiful 5-megapixel photos or 1080p HD video. That's far in advance of what we had on iPad 2. The wireless is advanced greatly too. It has the same LTE capabilities that you see in our new 4th generation iPad, LTE wireless. We have the faster Wi-Fi as well, 802.11 A, B, G, N, and N at 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, so twice as fast Wi-Fi. We've built in that Lightning connector, so it's compatible with the accessories being created for iPhone 5, the 4th generation iPad, iPod Touch, and iPod Nano. And all of this technology, all this incredible capability in such a thin and light device, the team has worked really hard to get you the same battery life, 10 hours of battery life, just like the 4th generation iPad. So hopefully, as you've been hearing about all these features and performance and capability, you see, it is every inch an iPad. So we've created a video to tell you a lot more about it. I'd like to play that now.
So let's play the video in the background low. We saw that comparison where they were trying to put everything, in favor of them. They didn't mention the screen resolution.
They didn't mention price.
At all. They didn't mention price.
It's a lower
at all
screen resolution than both the Kindle Fire HD and the Nexus 7. They didn't mention price. And it's funny because the Twitter response to the comparison with the Nexus 7 is like, Ooh, they must be really worried about that.
Yeah.
Which I found to be an interesting,
They don't often
that was
bring
the
up
take
a
right away.
comparison to hold up right next to their product that they're
Yeah.
yeah.
Although Gil SD in the chat room was saying that it's just to quash any lawsuits. Like now you can. It's an interesting size choice too. It's not a 7-inch tablet. Doesn't necessarily address the problem of the laptop plus the big tablet plus the smartphone, but it places it more squarely between the iPod Touch and the 10-inch tablet.
Can we talk about the 4th generation iPad, though?
Yeah.
I honestly,
that?
I can't even lie. Like, I'm pretty pissed about that. Like, that's just I am still on the 1st generation, but to introduce a new one 6 months later, that is about lightning, and lightning is about
And they were
cash.
just
Like,
talking about
that's
how it
just-
was the fastest selling iPad that they've ever had, and now they're coming around with another one. Like, they know the number of users that they're burning right now.
I mean, we expected.
Yeah, they know it, and they you're right. They totally they put them out there, and then they shot them.
We expected to see a new
shocked.
4th gen iPad, but not with a faster processor, faster Wi-Fi. I mean, these are things that I was like, okay, maybe we'll see one with lightning on it. Fine, but I mean, to really the guts are significantly faster than the 3rd gen 6 months later. That's horrible.
That's horrible
for customers. That's horrible.
Yeah, because that has been one thing
That's
that
horrible.
people who have enjoyed Apple have been able to count on is that at the very least you're going to get burned once a year, right? They only come out with one phone a year. They only come out with one batch of new laptops, one batch of iPads. But this is a new precedent.
Yeah. We'll still show this video while we talk about things. Also, right, the iPad Mini is using the A5 chip.
Yeah.
The new iPad is using the A6X chip. I mean, I'm shocked about what they threw in that 4th one. It's horrible.
And kind of buried.
It's horrible. I can't even. I'm just like, I want to say other things that I can't say right now.
Yeah.
But I have to also say, like, they're upstaging that announcement with this iPad Mini. Like, they're kind of throwing it in there just for whatever their reasoning is for updating the iPad. Lightning, I guess, but they didn't have to do it. Like, they did not have to come out with another full-size iPad right now.
Or they could have announced the full-size iPad at the iPhone 5 announcement, which was just a few weeks ago. Like, clearly it was ready.
Yeah.
You could have done it then and made it a whole upgrade announcement. I mean, I just think to do it in the same calendar year, to do it 6 months later is...
6 months is brutal.
That's a diss.
6 months is brutal. I mean, anyone, whether you're...
and to me, it's overshadowed the Mini announcement, actually. I'm on the opposite.
Oh,
I'm like, I couldn't even think about them. When they first started talking about the Mini, I was like, all I can think about is that new iPad. Like, what?
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know.
Anyways, you guys, you got the hashtag CNET Live. Tell us what your thoughts are on what you've seen with the iPads. We'll read some of them because maybe you guys feel the same way. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are excited about it. I do think the iPad Mini is pretty cool. I mean, it's what we expected to see in another instance where the leaks and shots and specs are literally everything that was released right on the money for a second event.
And we did try to warn you all throughout in the pre-show that this was not going to be a super premium product. That it wasn't going to have a Retina display. The screen resolution is disappointing, but I doubt that will be the only disappointment. This has to be cheaper, and so it's going to have to make some compromises.
We'll see.
And we'll see.
I'm very curious about where they're going to price this.
I know, we're all just like, okay, come on, seriously.
Well, they were holding it if they're holding it up to the Nexus 7, I would have to think that they're going to compete on price.
At $199?
Yeah, but if they do that, then where does that leave the iPod Touch at?
Exactly.
Oh.
And also, I disagree with their size. I think 7 inches is the right size for a mid-sized tablet. I really do. I think that 8 inches is a little too big. It's not enough of a differentiator between that and a 10-inch in terms of portability.
Well, yeah, I think it's kind of a push.
Absolutely remarkable levels.
Oh, and yes, by the way, in that ad, they did say it's going to get a redesigned smart cover. Thank goodness.
iPad.
Someone asked about new smart covers. Just no keys on it, so.
So many different places, in so many different ways.
All right. See what pricing coming up next, guys.
The iPad Mini is every inch an iPad. As you saw, it comes with a great line of accessories, including these optional smart covers that come in blue, green, pink, light gray, dark gray, and even a great product red one as well. They're smart, so they work with the software intelligently, and they're great to use in every angle. And they really complement this incredible new iPad Mini. The iPad Mini starts with a full 16 gigabytes of memory. and the Wi-Fi configuration will be priced at $329.
$329, just like we talked about.
Well, then you know what? Don't bring the Nexus 7 up and compare it to that. That's BS.
That is the lowest price yet for an iPad, helping us to reach even more customers. So this is the iPad lineup. iPad mini starts at $329, iPad 2 at $399, iPad 4th generation with a Retina display at $499. Of course, there are many configurations of memory you can choose from, so there those all are, the Wi-Fi configurations, and then of course cellular configurations. So there's something in a wide range of price for everyone in each the most amazing, best iPad or tablet device that anyone has offered. Now, if you want to get your hands on one, how are you going to do that? Well, both iPad mini and the 4th generation iPad, you'll be able to start to pre-order this Friday on October 26th. And the Wi-Fi versions will ship first, just a week later, on November 2nd, to a large list of countries. Here they are. And then about 2 weeks later, we'll start to ship the cellular versions, first in the US, and then gradually around the world. Of course, like all of our products, the team works very hard to make sure this is environmentally friendly, the iPad mini and the 4th generation iPad, arsenic-free display glass, mercury-free display, BFR-free, PVC-free, and of course, highly recyclable. So this is an amazing new addition to our iPad family. We're going to be so excited to tell customers about it if they don't already know how exciting it is right now, streaming this live on the internet. And we're going to add a TV ad that we're going to run and introduce customers to it in a really simple and fun way. I'd love to run that for you now.
We'll watch this. It's probably 30 seconds, so.
Isn't that great? Thanks. Definitely thanks to the ad team for that. They just really came up with the most creative way to introduce iPad mini to everyone who already knows how great iPad is. And that's iPad.
Oh, oops. All right, we lost sound for a second.
I was seeing reports earlier, actually, that their live stream had failed, so I'm glad it stayed up for us.
Okay, here we go. Audio's back up.
Sound back. Okay, great.
Stephen Beacham is the man.
They're still clapping, but they don't even know why.
Chopsticks.
That's very cool. We told you earlier this year that you would see some incredible innovation from Apple across the year. Innovation that only Apple could deliver. We think we've kept our promise, and I hope that you agree. We shipped Mountain Lion and iOS 6, the latest versions of our desktop and mobile operating systems with hundreds of new features, including great new features that help Macs and iOS devices work seamlessly together. We launched 2 new incredible iPods, a completely redesigned Nano and an amazingly thin 5th generation iPod Touch. We launched the unbelievable new iPhone with an incredibly thin and light design with a beautiful 4-inch Retina display. We refreshed our entire lineup of notebooks and reinvented the Pro notebook with the 13-inch, 15-inch MacBook Pro with Retina displays. And we announced today the unbelievably thin and unbelievably gorgeous new iMac. Earlier this year, we announced the 3rd generation iPad with a Retina display, and today we replaced it with a faster 4th generation iPad and added the iPad mini to the iPad family.
It's what the?
Yes, it has been an incredible year with all of these new products and all of the applications and cloud services. This has been a truly prolific year of innovation for Apple. We hope that you love these products as much as we loved creating them. I'd personally like to thank all of the teams at Apple that have worked so hard to create everything you've seen today and everything across the year. They dedicate a huge part of their lives to making the best products on earth. These are the most talented and most innovative people I know. And it is a privilege and an inspiration for me to be able to work with them. I want to thank everyone for coming. We've got a hands-on area with all of the new products you've seen today. It's upstairs. I invite you all to go get your hands on them. They're fantastic. Thank you for joining us.
All right, guys, so there's the wrap-up of Apple's event from the California Theater in San Jose. Quite honestly, overall, a lot of cool things that we saw. I think the one thing that we're, the iMacs, the Mac Minis, we didn't know a lot about that, but the one thing that we're all still trying to wrap our head around with right now is the freaking 4th generation iPad.
Can I just want to go back to the 3rd generation iPad, the one that's called the new iPad?
Yes.
So is that one now called the still on sale but actually old now new iPad? Or can we call it iPad 3 now?
Or also known in that presentation as the best-selling iPad we've ever had, which we're now killing.
That sucks now.
I think that, to be honest right now, for those of you who are thinking about getting an iPad, the best steal might actually be to buy a lower-priced 3rd-generation iPad. That's only 6 months old. My first thing is like, hey, you want to save a little money? You go ahead. So anyways, we'll just do a little quick recap. But one thing we wanted to do is talk about our poll. Thank you guys so much for hanging with us. We're going to have talk about what happened here, also take some of your live calls and read some of your tweets for about the next 15 or 20 minutes just to wrap this all up. But our poll from our live blog that asks, are you going to buy the iPad mini? It's really split almost down the line. 35% said it's a done deal. 30% said no way, Jose. 35% said at that price, I'll buy a Kindle Fire HD or a Nexus 7. I mean, that's as evened out and as mixed as you can get about the iPad mini.
And that's not surprising. I mean, somebody on Twitter, I think, just said it the best way, which is they missed the price point that would have crushed the competition. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, it's flat out disingenuous to come up there with a Nexus 7 and tear it apart and say it's not as good and blah, 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 when the same model and the same configuration is like $80 cheaper. Because the 16 gig, it's not $199. The 16 gig Wi-Fi Nexus 7 is $249 to their $329. Mm-hmm. But like now, and I just tweeted this, now they're selling the previously new, still on sale, no longer new iPad 3 for $399. If you buy an iPad mini with a smart cover, it's the same price.
I thought they showed the iPad 2 as being at that $399 price point.
Oh, was that the iPad 2?
Yeah, the graphic said iPad 2, which is I was wondering, like,
so I don't even know if the iPad 3 is still on sale or now it just doesn't exist anymore.
They'll just sell it through. It doesn't exist, but they'll just sell it through probably now for $50 cheaper until it's gone.
They put a hood on that bad boy and dumped him in the river.
Big time 1984. Yeah, like there never was a new iPad.
Okay, you know what? I feel like we should just get some of the raw reaction from what people are thinking right now. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah, please.
Okay, let's go with Larry. Larry's calling us all the way from Tampa, Florida. Larry, how you doing? Thanks for hanging with us.
Hi, how are you, man?
Good. So what are your thoughts? How you feel about this announcement or everything that you saw?
I feel burnt. You know, you're talking to a guy who today is on his 12th iPhone 5. 12, okay?
Yeah.
Dealing with cosmetic damage, documented, being handled by upper management, Apple. They still can't get it right. Now with this new iPad announcement, I feel smacked.
Yeah.
I feel smacked in the face.
Yeah, I think
you're talking to a guy who's been an Apple fan for a while, and I think their arrogance has caught up with them.
Yeah, thanks for the
because
call.
What'll happen here I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Finish up.
Rant it out, man.
Please.
No, I feel what's going on here is Apple knows people will it's a fit, and eventually they'll calm down and they'll buy one because it's Apple. And that was me about a month ago. But I got to tell you, after going through all these iPhone 5s and every single one having cosmetic damage, now to top it off with a new iPad, 6 months after I just spent $829 on that one, I just feel slighted completely. This is not Steve Jobs Apple anymore, unfortunately.
Thanks for calling, Larry. We appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think you're not alone. I mean, our chat room is like, wow, Apple just totally lost my respect today. The tweets are really frustrating. I mean, there's definitely some people who are saying, like, technology marches on, leave them alone, but not very many.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. All right, we're going to take Justin. We'd like to hear your calls, both positive and negative. We're not all trying to dump on this, but I think, at least in this room, the overall sentiment is like, did we really just see that happen? I really feel that way.
Yeah.
I feel that way. All right, Justin, you're up, man. What's going on? Justin calling to us from St. Louis. Justin?
Hello?
Hey, Justin, what's going on?
Oh, not too much. Hey, how you guys doing?
We're good. We're good. How do you think about everything that you heard today? What are your thoughts?
I think everything was great. My main focus is everybody else's was the iPad Mini.
Okay.
What happened? Oh, we lost him.
We lost him, but his focus was the iPad Mini.
Yeah. Good.
That was
he
the
seemed
last thing we
upbeat
heard.
about it.
I
so
know. He
just
seemed
read into
okay
it,
with
yeah.
it. I'm really curious to hear people's thoughts on the price. I mean, I think they're hoping that it'll be a more premium product than an Android tablet, that the price may be worth it, but that is high.
Well, if you look at it from what they're basically, like we talked about this before the keynote started, and some of us had anticipated that, okay, it might be this price, but it's not premium enough to warrant that price point.
It's really not.
That's what it comes down to. What I see from what matches up hardware wise, and the fact that they were comparing it to a $199er, the Galaxy Nexus 7.
It
doesn't seem to match up with
it's
what's
stepping
in there.
on a lot of the other prices they have for their product. Like, I don't know who's going to spend the $299 on an iPod Touch when they could spend the $30 more to get the iPad Mini. I don't know why you'd get the iPad Mini if you could spend the $70 more to get the iPad 2 that's still on the market. Like, there is really coming down to these fine little price differences.
Yeah.
And if I still think that they might have just done better to kill off the iPod Touch and have this iPad Mini be the thing to replace it at that, $299, price point.
And make it then a true 7-inch tablet, which I think is actually a more portable size. It's more holdable. Like, Phil Schiller can hold an 8-inch tablet in his hand, but let me tell you, the Kindle Fire HD is about that wide because it has that, like, bizarrely huge bezel. And it gives me, like, hand cramp. Like, it's uncomfortable to hold in one hand. But a 7-inch would have been too close to iPod Touch, but an 8-inch feels too close to iPad.
I mean, I think personally, I don't hold my tablets with one hand, so that's not as big of a thing.
I think the other thing for me, just on the iPad Mini, is it just doesn't seem like that creative a leap for them. Like, it seems like they, like you were predicting before, like they just shrunk the iPad. Like,
they shrunk the iPad. They put everything in there.
I was hoping for something that was going to have a little bit more of a hook into education, or a hook into being more kid-friendly, or being more, I don't know, something to differentiate it a little bit more than just a scaled-down iPad.
I think in Apple's mind, their hook to education is that it's a lower-priced iPad. Do you know what I mean? I'm not justifying. I'm just saying in their mind, they're probably like, well, for education now, there's a lower-priced iPad. But they did everything we pretty much thought. They made a 7-inch iPad. That's literally all they did. So we'll see how it bears out. But let's take some more calls. All the lines are full, so we want to get through some of them. Lawrence calling us. What's going on, Lawrence?
Yeah, I was just thinking, the whole point with the iPad Mini, why didn't they just add the phone calling feature in for your cellular? So if you don't want the 5 smaller and you can't afford the big new iPad, the old iPad that's, the one in between that's just nowhere, you could at least get the 7-inch and still make phone calls using Bluetooth or the headphones, which most people do anyway.
Yeah, I think that ultimately although we've seen them kind of muddy their product line of, like, there's different products at prices that are less than $100 from each other, they're going to want to keep a phone as a phone. I mean, I would have been shocked if they enabled phone calling on a 7-inch, 7.8 or 7.9-inch tablet. But
it doesn't have LTE, right? There's no LTE option available, unlike how because there is with the new iPad, I believe. I mean, they didn't specify, so I'll pull up the store and check. I mean, I don't think they were ever going to try to. The store, by the way, is still down, at least for me. I don't think they were ever going to try to make it like a new phone, like a phablet. You know?
That's not what they're trying to play
But
with.
But I will be interested once the store comes up to see whether there is an LTE option.
Yeah, it does support 4G LTE, the iPad Mini.
It does. Okay.
Yeah. There's going to be an option. Like we said, there's like we had kind of talked earlier and predicted possibly that there's 12 versions of the iPad Mini and 12 versions of the 4th gen iPad. That came to bear out. So
and I mean the SKUs alone, like you saw Tim Cook trip himself up
right
at the end there, trying to keep track of all of the iPads that are still available. It's still unclear whether the iPad 3 is still available for sale. I just like skimmed right over the number 2 because I just assumed they must be referring to the iPad 3. Like, is that still available for the same price as the new iPad 4? It probably, I mean, and that is so un-Apple. Like, it's now you're talking about true kind of product line hardware fragmentation and more SKUs than I can remember Apple having ever.
Yeah, I mean, from a product side, I think one of the reasons maybe why we may not have seen a Retina display or possibly fine prices, but at the very least in Apple's mind, they can just scale their apps directly to the new iPad Mini without doing anything. So that's advantageous for them.
That really is.
That's
and
advantageous.
That's a really good point that you raised, because I think there was a huge sigh of relief from the developers at that point, because I think some of them were already freaking out about having to develop 16.9 apps for the iPhone 5, and they were probably terrified that there was going to be that kind of change too. So that the lack of 16.9 display on the iPad Mini is, maybe a bummer for us, but at least some of the developers are like, thank God.
Yeah.
Well, especially they're bringing up those iPad-specific apps, right? Like
exactly.
That they had that was one of their big things they had against Android, are these tablet-specific apps. And so, just to be able to throw those down, I think it's a big win.
All right, we're going to take a call from TJ. We do want to talk about the iPad is still fresh in our mind, but TJ, you like what you heard about the iMac and some other things you want to talk about?
Yeah, I thought the iMac. I know a lot of people are disappointed with the iPad update. I think I have an iPad 2, so I didn't get the 3, so I'm not as disappointed.
Yeah,
and,
you're good to
I feel
go.
That anybody that got one in the last 6 months just got kind of gypped into buying a product that they thought was going to be new for a while, and now that's kind of how life is in the tech world. But with the iMac, I was kind of mildly excited, not sure exactly what it was going to be, whether it was just going to be like incremental upgrades, like a new hard drive, a new processor. But seeing a new design is kind of exciting to see, like the new bezel, and the optical drive is kind of disappointing. But overall, I felt like the new design and the spec updates that they have are gonna keep me with buying a new iMac instead of moving over to a different option.
Yeah, you know what? And let's talk. Thanks for calling in, TJ. I think what I was kind of surprised about was when Phil Schiller backhanded people who still used optical drives.
Yeah, I was
in the keynote
about
the
that too.
iMac. I was like,
know.
"Are you serious?" It was like, "Oh yeah, if you still use one." Again, the iMac was centered as like this digital hub to burn movies and DVDs. He's like, "Oh yeah, if you still use one." Oh well.
You loser.
I like the iMac design. I think it's hot, and I'm glad people are calling in and talking about that. But I haven't seen that necessarily. I don't know if Apple is beating up on their customers a little bit
They're
today.
getting a little more dismissive than I think they can
felt
afford
there's
to
some
right
sort
now.
there's some underlying tones that we heard, and not just from the iPad thing, but just from the iMac as well. I kind of felt that in a few situations. So
And all the jargon too, all like the fabricated Apple minted jargon of like the Fusion drive.
Yeah, it was a little intense today. It's funny too, because in a way the iMac was the show stealer, at least design wise, but then I got tweets later from people. Donald Brown tweeted me on and said the new iMac is the one announcement today that disappoints me because of the loss of optical. The SD slot is also gone. So if you wanted to use it in place of the Mac Pro that you're never going to get if you were a photographer, you have no SD card slot. And then there's no user upgradable RAM, which there used to be. So that is, I mean, it's more locked down and then dismissive of really a format that, come on. People are still. You know what you could put in there to make people really happy? Because you know what people buy the iMac to replace? Their TV. So put a friggin' Blu-ray drive in there and let people watch their like fancy new movies. I mean, don't act like it's just not. I don't know. Especially not when iCloud sucks so bad.
Man,
don't act like you guys can single-handedly move everybody to the cloud when iCloud sucks so bad.
Let's just take a moment to think about how big Steve Ballmer is smiling right now. You know?
Microsoft did just tweet that Surface tablets are available for pre-order. You can pre-order a Surface. They're back ordered.
Because I feel like that was the other reason for this whole event, is to really overshadow the Microsoft announcement. I don't think they pulled that off. I don't think that anyone saw something here that is immediately going to cast the Surface out of their mind.
Agreed.
No, not at all. If
Yeah.
you were thinking about a Surface, I don't think you saw anything here that was going to make you not go to the line.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a call here from Jacob from New Jersey. Jacob, what's up?
Hey,
Doing good. Are you still there with us, Jacob?
yes, I am.
All right, so tell us your thoughts about what you saw today.
I basically just thought that they're going to release all this new products and all that, and just as an Apple product buyer, I just think that they're releasing an iPad mini. I think the new iMacs are awesome, but as for the iPad mini, they're kicking themselves in the mouth because they just released a new iPod Touch that, yeah, it's awesome, but like for a little bit more, I think I want the bigger screen, the more capability, especially for cellular, even in comparison to the iPhone 5. Like, I just got the iPhone 5.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we lost him, but he definitely got his point across.
Also, quick correction, there is still an SD slot on the new iMac.
There
That's
is.
what I
Okay.
get for reading the tweets and then not looking
It's
at the specs
okay.
before
It's
I read
okay.
the tweet.
Guess what? Sometimes we make mistakes.
I know. Thanks for everybody on Twitter who corrected the tweet that I read that was wrong.
One other thing, subtle, not earth-shattering or anything, but they showed some adapters for the iPads that allowed you to go out from Lightning to VGA and HDMI.
Yeah.
At least with the iPhones, they didn't have anything like that, and people are questioning, are we going to be able to connect, if you want to, physically, to a TV set? It at least looks like the iPads, the 4th generation, is going to do that. I don't know if those adapters, because we're getting this information, we're not looking at the page like you guys are right now, if they'll be working with the iPad mini, but that was actually a little subtle new wrinkle for people that have been like, how am I going to send this signal to my TV if I don't have an Apple TV? So just want to throw a little nugget out there to you
And
guys.
I wanted to send out a reminder, too. I don't know if we've done this yet or not, but before people peel off, make sure, because all of our CNET editors are there right now at the event in the hands-on room, getting hands-on and getting probably the hands-on impressions, maybe a video, and they're going to be running back here, and we're going to have all that content up here at CNET later in the day, so be sure to check back here at CNET.
Okay, guys, the phone lines are full. We're going to just get through these final 5 calls or so just to let you guys know. I know we want to talk to you guys, but we're going to have to at least cut it off at some point and do our jobs, outside of this room. But we appreciate you, all of you coming in from live stream, Ustream, YouTube, and hanging out with us in our live blog and after this with all our coverage. We hope you're enjoying it. I'm having a good time. Are you all right?
I don't know.
I need to go to the bathroom.
You can go right now.
No, I want to hear your calls.
You're gonna power through that.
I'm gonna power through. I can do it. You guys, I had to go pee by the time he was on the iMac. Like, it was over for me. I was like, come on, it's the first product.
We do have diapers here under the table. All right, George from New York. What's up, George?
Hey, what's up, Brian?
Hey, how you doing? Tell us what you thought about the announcements today.
I thought it was kind of Tim Cook's way of proving himself that he had innovative products. Being that you said that the S3 was the most innovative product.
I agree. The S3 is the more innovative phone than the iPhone 5. I'll stick to that. I never said it was the best phone. That comes down to you. But I do think the S3 is innovative, for sure.
I mean, I think he wanted to prove a lineup that was innovative and that could, show off that he's being a good CEO, just like Steve Jobs.
What for you was the product that stood out as the most innovative? I'm making up words right now.
Oh no, I love the iPad 4. Don't get me wrong. I think they went in the right direction. I mean, because Android would have taken over them. Like, I mean, within 6 months, you would have had an Android that would have been destroyed this iPad, the new iPad.
So you're looking at it kind of more as a preemptive strike to just be ahead of the game a little bit.
Yes, I mean, Android's, they change every 3 months. So by the time next year, you would have had like so many Androids beating them, and they could have been out of the market. So I think it was a smart move, even though people are annoyed about it. I'm happy about it. I like updates, and it's faster, it's better,
George, 6 months, man. 6 months.
I know, 6
You're okay with that? Are you a baller? George, are you a baller?
You're a baller.
No, but think about it. I mean, if you wanted to stick to less, then you just pay less. I mean, you're getting more for the same amount of money.
I think there's a lot of people that might have bought
you're
an
paying
iPad.
that amount of money 2 times in 6 months.
Right.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. So were you going to say something?
I was just going to go back to the graphic that Tim Cook had up earlier in the presentation. We was talking about like all tablet traffic to websites, that like 91% of that was coming from iOS web browsing. If he's really trying to say that that Apple owns 91% of like the tablet market with that graphic, or at least that those are the people who are actually using their tablets, then like why would you be so fiercely afraid of competition coming to take up that market share that you'd have to release another like incrementally upgraded full-on iPad just 6 months afterwards?
It does feel like this, and I think actually that's a good point that our caller makes, which is that Tim Cook may have been trying to prove that he could be innovative, but also it does seem to, it feels like they are feeling the pressure, and the pressure is stronger than it's ever been. The competition is stronger than it's ever been. I mean, I do think that the Kindle Fire HD and the Nexus 7 are serious competitors in that tablet market, and the fact that they were so dismissive of them points to the fact that I think they're legitimately worried. And, and that may be why they rushed
even in
this out
those
the door.
slides that he was going through where he wasn't talking about companies by name, but clearly he was talking about the Amazon Kindle when he was trying to pimp iBooks. Clearly he was talking about Google and Google Docs when he was talking about the iCloud integration with iWorks and the Mac. And then he was talking about, what was the one before that too? I'm trying to remember it. But there was another point he was making that was, it was the integration of iOS 6 and the desktop software, right? And saying that these are really great together, just like maybe say Windows 8 would be, you know?
Totally.
So it's a lot of competitors were named directly or indirectly in that presentation.
So just wanted to go through just to show you guys from Twitter that we are paying attention to you when you hashtag us with CNET Live. Friend Nathan Gura says iPhone 5 is garbage, iPad 4 is a slap in the face, iPad mini is overpriced for so little, but the iMac is sexy.
Pretty much.
Good Coffee. What's up, Good Coffee? She says something tells me to wait another 6 months for the Retina display on the iPad Mini 2.
Yeah, you gotta wonder about that.
You know, Good Coffee, you're onto something right there. Cameron Hobson says, WTF, a new faster iPad is somehow horrible for consumers? Rubbish. Talk about first world problems. He's directing that at us.
Rubbish.
But it is kind of unprecedented for Apple to do that. Like I can't think of the last time they did it except for when they came out with the iPod Photo, and then like there was the iPad 5th generation, or not. I'm saying iPod and iPod Photo versus the iPod Video that came out later. I still remember. I still have people who bring that up as feeling that feeling of being burned.
They did it they did it with an iPhone. There was an iPhone model. The 3GS came out, I think, 8 months after the 3G.
Oh.
Or I think maybe that was anyway, I just remember that I went on an epic series of 8-month-long rants or something about
it. But that is
but
part of the appeal of buying an
people were
Apple
mad.
product is that you know that they have these longer life cycles, unlike the competition where you're getting that new Android phone every 6 months.
Yeah. That's maybe, I mean, the scary thing is let's hope 6 months is not the new black for product updates.
6
I
months
think
is
that's
pretty rough.
That's a little disheartening. Just
and
a few
there are
others.
a lot of people who are saying, including somebody on that CNET Live thread who just said, what are you guys so mad about? Like, you don't have to have the new one. And I think what people are mad about is that they spent money on the old one. They spent $500 on the old one, and it now either doesn't exist or maybe $100 cheaper, or is, it's just like, you told me this was the best.
It comes from where you're coming from. Like our guy that called earlier that said, I have an iPad too, so I'm okay with this. It all comes from the perspective is if you already have one, if you just bought one, or if you're looking to buy. Right. That's going to change your tone. But just from us looking out for consumers, we want choice, but 6 months is it's a short timetable for us to see an update like that.
Also, it makes you a little trigger shy to buy another product because you're like, how long do I have for this to be the new hotness before it's the oldness?
Yep, the oldness. All right, well, let's pound through the final calls here. We've got David calling us from Phoenix, Arizona. David, what's up, man? Hey, how you doing? What did you think of everything today?
I'm pretty positive about it.
All right.
But I guess, okay. I'm glad about the announcement, but with the iPad 4th generation. Well, I didn't expect it, but it's kind of cool. But I will be selling my 3rd because I think it'll be a lot easier to sell it now than it is to wait for the 5th. But my huge only concern would be will they announce a 5th generation iPad before October 13th, 2013?
Of next year? The answer is who knows, because they just changed the game on all of us where this 1 year life cycle-ish has been completely squashed. So I couldn't tell you that. I don't think anyone here really knows. But
I would say though that I bet this one will like reset the live or the 1 year. I was reading CNET Live. I think this will reset the 1 year product life cycle because I think this update is all about Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I mean, there were analyst reports that said they were going to sell, that they were going to make $100 million on Lightning connectors. I think they're now trying to standardize all of these products onto Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what this particular, you're getting some incremental upgrades with the iPad 4, but what you're primarily getting is the shift to the new connection standard.
But it would be unlike Apple to group all of their product announcements around the fall. Like, there's still going to be some summer announcements. That summer announcement for last year, has been iPad related.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everything is changing. What do we do?
They're not even having the event in the same venue. Everything's different.
It's hard, guys. All right, Chris from the ATL, Hotlanta. What's up, Chris?
What's up, player? Hi, CNET peeps. So,
yeah, I like
you guys
that.
think that it's peculiar for Apple to release an iPad mini with only 163 ppi display and forgo Retina? I mean, while I understand the price concerns, it's disappointing. Why even bother buying it if the iPad mini 2 will most likely have a Retina display? Do you think they made a mistake there?
Well, we were hoping, thanks for calling in, Chris, we were hoping that by them using a display that was not Retina, which we almost expected before the keynote, that might help to drive the price down a little bit because there's no Retina display, but that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I think, whether it's disappointing or not, it depends on if you were expecting it with a cheaper price or if you wanted it and were thinking that maybe a $329 one would have a Retina display. It depends on which side of the fence you are on that one, but the fact it's more of the price point with that product, I think, is the one that's a little more disappointing, specifically when they compared it side by side with the Nexus 7.
I will take this moment to pimp my own thing, too. Right now on top5.cnet.com, I've got top 5 Android tablets under $300. This stuff is fresh in my mind right now, too. That I do think the display is one thing where all the other tablets in this category are really hammering down on. We've got like the Kindle Fire HD. We've got the Nexus 7. We've got the Nook tablet with their HD resolution screen, too. The screen, Samsung is one of the major competitors for Android tablets right now. Of course, they do really high-resolution screens. So for them to not do this with all the competition really trying to push on that screen resolution is a big miss.
I actually do think, our caller's right. I think that's a bit of a mistake. And I think it doesn't, and you don't, because then the problem is you have a cheaper iPad, which people are going to be very happy about. It is more accessible now. You can get into the iPad universe a lot cheaper, but the value proposition is not as good. You're not getting the bang for your buck that you were getting even with previous models.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're right. The new screaming deal in town, somebody just tweeted me that they bought a refurbished 16 gig 3rd gen iPad for $379. Like, that probably is the new deal.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
So you guys, we know some of you are still calling. We're trying to close out the phone lines, but really we're going to take about 3 more calls. We just want to let you know. So if we don't get to you, we apologize, but we thank you so much for coming out. We will take a few more calls here. One question that a few people have been asking me on Twitter because I thought that we might see it, but we didn't see it. Evan from Pennsylvania, what's up?
Hey.
Hey. What brings you to call us, my man?
Well, I was wondering. I thought the event overall was kind of lackluster, and I was looking forward to the iTunes 11 release date, which didn't come.
Yeah.
And I was wondering whether you have an idea when it's going to be available for download.
To be honest, even from the developer side with developer accounts, they haven't rolled that out yet. So that typically they'll run it through the developers first, and then it'll take about a month before we see it in the public. That hasn't happened yet. I was hoping that maybe they would just put it out there at this announcement because of the type of products they did. They did not. So unfortunately, I don't have anything from a realistic date. I hope we see it before 2013. That's my hope. But we'll see. We'll see. That remains to be seen.
That was a bummer. A lot of people were tweeting about that and also the lack of a
Thanks for calling, Evan.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That was kind of a bummer to not get that release date. And then also apparently I got a lot of tweets about people who had really been wanting a Thunderbolt Cinema display.
Yeah.
Which you might have expected along with an iPad or iMac announcement.
I think we'll probably see it with the new Mac Pro in 2013 more than anything else, right?
Maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Once they go for it. And you mentioned it before the keynote that Thunderbolt has kind of been lost in the mix of everything.
It has.
Right. They really pushed it hard.
I'm surprised.
Now it's all about Lightning, and Thunderbolt is, hopefully down the road compatible with Lightning, but we haven't seen anything with that standard really being implemented or taking off. There are third-party companies making hard drives and different, third-party products for it, but it's It's not there yet.
And not that many.
Yeah, it's not there yet.
I know.
Okay, we're going to take 2 more calls. Michael from New York. What's going on, Michael?
Yes.
Hey, Michael, can you turn down the volume of your computer, and then we can talk to you?
Yeah. Okay. Got
All
it
right,
now.
there you go. We're good. What's up, Michael?
Not much. Seeing the keynote today, it's kind of pushing a lot of people that are budget friendly, especially on the back burner for the iPad Mini, and also that it doesn't have a Retina display for the.
Yep, it does not have a Retina display.
Totally like.
Yeah, I think maybe what he was trying to get to is the price point was not what he was expecting, especially if Apple was really trying to target a lower end market.
Also, don't forget, there is a Google announcement coming on October 29th, and we're expecting new Nexus tablets. It'll be really interesting if they come out with a 32 gig base model that's $249. Then I think Apple is going to regret that Nexus 7 comparison even more.
Yeah, then there's been rumblings that they'll do that.
Mhm.
So we'll see. Okay, we're going to take our last call because this guy has the same name as me. Brian from New York. What's going on, Brian?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
I think they might have missed the mark on the iPad Mini. We've got Galaxy tabs, and I like to wear Lee jeans when I'm just hanging out, the carpenter jeans.
Yeah.
And my tabs fit right in my back pocket. My iPhone fits right in the ruler pocket on the right leg. Now, I'm wondering if they said 7.9, which is actually a little bit smaller than my Galaxy Tab, which is I forget, I just measured it a minute ago. But that fits fine in my back pocket. So if I'm out walking around town or in a new town on vacation, it fits beautiful. But if it doesn't fit in my back pocket, I think they missed the mark for men. My wife will be fine because it'll be in her purse.
I love this call, man.
I know, I love this too.
I mean, your product decisions are based on your carpenter jeans and the size of the back pocket. That's what
like
you're
the
pretty much
best
telling
thing
me,
ever.
right?
There you go.
And
I
you're-
love it.
You're walking around with that many gadgets in your carpenter jeans? That is also awesome. You must have a really good belt.
Yeah. But you say they might be taking product share away from the iPad. They won't be if it doesn't fit in the packet. It won't be at all.
Not for you, my friend, unless you get 10-inch pockets.
There you go.
All right, thanks so much for
All
calling
right.
us, Brian.
That's awesome.
We like that. We're gonna wrap things up on that note. But thank you for everyone watching live with us. Remember to stick with all of our continuous coverage at CNET.com. We'll have first looks at some of the hardware that Apple announced. We'll obviously have a lot of commentary, reactions, and reflections of everything you saw here. But cross me, Miss Molly Wood. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you for coming out. This was a blast, as always, and I cannot wait to see what our editors have to say after just like a few minutes of hands-on that's happening right now.
Mr. Donald Bell, any parting words?
No, just so happy to be here as always. My family.
Mi familia. Stephen Beacham has been producing and running this show, running the entire show. Thank you so much for that, Stephen. You're the man. You know that.
Pleasure. Been a lot of fun.
All right, guys, that's going to do it. We'll see you guys at the next event. It doesn't necessarily have to be an Apple event. We do other events. But thanks for coming out to CNET's live coverage of Apple's event, iPad Mini, iMacs, Mac Minis, MacBook Pro Retinas. We'll talk to you later, all right?
Bye, guys.
All right, we'll see you.